everybody. Welcome, OkashiCon family and friends, to OkashiCon Online. If you guys haven't been with us before, OkashiCon now has 4 to 5 programs every month here on our Twitch channel, and the replays are available on the OkashiCon YouTube channel and generally on our website as well, which is okashicon.com. Today, we have a very special event. We have a double feature. So I know some of you guys are here for one type of content, some of you guys are here for the other type of content, and we're going to be blending them together so that no one gets bored. We have tips for budget travel in Japan. So I have compiled several dozen of my personal tips, and then also ones that have been shared with me by friends, family, and other people who live in Japan, and some authors who specialize in budget Japan travel. Also, the big special excitement for us today is that Austin, Texas, which is where OkashiCon is located, is getting its very own Daiso store. Daiso is a 100 yen shop, so it's about $1.50 in America, and it is opening on Tuesday, and we have a sneak peek of the store and interviews with a couple of the staff there so that they can tell us some of the cool features that we can expect once Daiso is open. But if you guys don't know, I am a huge Daiso fan. I've been to about 40 Daisos on 3 continents, and I am so stoked that we finally have one in Austin. So I am going to do a couple of announcements first. Then we're going to do a little bit of a brief interview with Daiso manager. So I promise it'll be short, and then we'll get into the budget travel tips and give you a couple of like interspersed things. I'm just going to check the chat now. I see that several of our regulars are here. I'm very happy to see you. Hi, Jelly Pizza. Hi, Lester Kinney Cosplay. Hi, Sippy Hackaby. Hi, Misty Ibiki. I know that there's more of you lurking, but thanks so much. Yeah, I'm sorry that the closest one to Daiso to you is 3.5 hours away, but remember, I know that you come to Austin a couple times a year. So if you are in the Austin area and don't know, it is on Airport Boulevard. It is in the same shopping complex as Kinokuniya. There's also a new tabletop game store in there. Can't remember the name of it. There's a bunch of cool stuff in that shopping center. So you could spend hours and hours there. And our revolving sushi, so where like automated sushi go around, is in that shopping center as well. It's called Kura Revolving Sushi. And there's another Japanese restaurant there. So it is, if you're into Japanese stuff and you're coming to Austin, Texas, that is the place to go. So it's the Crescent Shopping Center. It's a corner of Airport and Lamar. So let me remind you about the rest of OkashiCon Online briefly. Again, I said we have 4 to 5 events a month. Just depends. A day fashion, we don't always have one, but you try to have one at least quarterly. But the first Saturday of every month, we have anime afternoons. This coming event is going to be an Artist Alley showcase. So if you have seen some of our artists at OkashiCon before, this is going to be a really exciting chance for us to see some of the cool things that they have available for the holidays, because I know we haven't been able to shop in person a whole lot, and a lot of the craft fairs are closed. So we would really appreciate that. If you're in the anime goods, this is a cool thing for you to come hang out with us. Also, the second Sunday of the month is Demo Disc OkashiCon, where our wonderful video game experts play a lot of the sample. They used to have these. I don't know if they still do them anymore, because I usually just get a game, but like the sample demos of like PlayStation games and other retro games from the 90s. The second Monday of the month, you're back with me for Make Your Monday, and this particular next episode, we're going to be dyeing paper, and that should be pretty cool. And then obviously the fourth Sunday of Monday is here for Japan Stories with me, Julianne. Remember, my name is spelled with 2 N's and no E's. You may need that later if you need to email me for the links from today's show. Again, our replays are available on the OkashiCon YouTube channel. You can also watch them on Twitch, and then eventually they do go up on my personal Julianne in Japan YouTube, but I edit them a little bit before then, so it's slower. They're also on the OkashiCon website. Even if they've gotten some kind of like copyright ding for YouTube, we will have them on the website, because sometimes if we have clips of anime, then YouTube won't let us play it on there. So we will make sure that you can see them later. So if you have friends that have missed today's program and are interested in learning to save money on a trip, some of these are generic trip information, so like flights and saving up and how to do exchange rates and things like that, and some of them are specific to Japan. So without further ado, I'm going to let us go into the first brief interview. It's about 10 minutes. with the manager, with Jay, the manager of the Austin Daiso. It's going to tell you what Daiso is and the cool things that we can look forward to for the grand opening. And then I will come back and we have 2 hours for me to share tips with you and a little bit of a sneak preview. But I promise that, if you're here for the tips, we have got plenty coming for you. But let's switch over to the interview with Jay, the manager of Austin Daiso. Hi, this is OkashaCon Online, and we are here to celebrate the grand opening of the new Austin Daiso. It's going to be opening on Tuesday, the 27th of October. So can you tell us, this is the manager, Jay, can you tell us what to expect from the grand opening?
Well, the grand opening is happening on Tuesday, and we're all really anticipating a really awesome grand opening. A lot of people have been waiting for a Daiso store to come to Austin for a long time. So we're expecting a lot of people to come by. We're going to be opening at 10 o'clock a.m. And crap. So,
Is there anything special going on that day, or is it just like the very first excitement? The new store smell.
Actually, there is going to be something, not for the grand opening, but for our 1 month anniversary around Black Friday, actually, because it happens to coincide with that. On the Black Friday, we're planning to give some goodie bags to certain customers who come in early enough. So we'll be doing that. For the grand opening, we're just going to be inviting people into the store and having the Daiso experience, which is going to be really great for all the products at such great prices and great quality.
Absolutely fantastic. So I know that you said that people need to stay 6 feet apart.
Yes.
Are masks required?
Yes, masks are required, and we are going to be making sure that people are following social distancing guidelines. We're actually going to be limiting the number of people who can be in the store at any given time. So we will have people posted outside, making sure that their masks are being worn properly. We have enough customers at the store to socially distance, and we'll have hand sanitizer, of course, for your sanitation needs.
And if you guys need masks, Daiso has a wonderful selection for the future. So wear a different mask when you come here, but pick up several before you leave. Can you tell us some more about Daiso in general? I know, like, why are you with Daiso? Like, what is your favorite thing about Daiso?
So I became acquainted with Daiso when I was living in Japan myself, and one of the first places I went when I first got to my apartment was a Daiso store. And I was so surprised by how many things I could buy, all the supplies I needed for my apartment for about under $100. And so that's what really got me very interested in Daiso, and I began going there very regularly throughout my time in Japan. And anytime I needed household items or craft supplies or gifts for my family and friends at home, Daiso would be the first place I would go. So when I had the opportunity to become the manager at this Daiso store in Austin, I jumped at the opportunity. I was so excited.
I don't blame you at all. So Daiso is known for having really fantastic quality goods, much better than your average dollar store in America. Can you tell us how they're able to make such good stuff and keep their prices low?
Well, that actually comes from the fact that Daiso is responsible for almost every level of the product's lifespan, basically. So, in terms of developing the products, manufacturing the products, Daiso is responsible, I think, for something around 90 or 95% of the products that they sell are completely developed and manufactured through Daiso. So that is one of the ways that they're able to keep the quality at such a high level and still have the price be such a reasonable price.
So I know that Daiso makes a huge range of products, far more than will fit in this type of store. How does each individual location choose which merchandise is going to be available in which store? So just as a bit of background, I've been to the world's largest Daiso in Funabashi, and it is, what, 8 times bigger than the store. So there's a lot of merchandise to choose from. How do you decide which ones you're going to have here and which ones you're going to have to, let people find at other stores?
Right. So we have other stores throughout Texas, of course, and across the country. And each store will be a little bit different in terms of the products that do best in those locations. And as far as I understand it, the Daiso locations throughout Texas have done a lot of research through the sales because we have several locations in Dallas and Houston. So through that research, we were able to determine which products are most appropriate for the locations throughout the state and the country. So I think it's interesting to see the different products that you will find at the locations in Japan versus the locations in the United States too, because some things I've noticed are really popular in the U.S. that you just can't really find anywhere else. But certain products are pretty unique to Japan and wouldn't really translate to an American market as well.
And there are a few things that are unique to American Daiso. So some of the cosmetics are a different brand than you would get in Japan. Some of that is licensing laws. So that's not really something that Daiso has control over, but they're still really good quality and still the fantastic Daiso price. Can you tell us why Daiso finally decided to come to Austin? Like, was there any particular reason why they took the plunge? Or is it just me begging them for years? Because I have been begging them on Twitter for like 5 years now.
Well, there were actually a number of people from like the Austin area who, of course, were asking for Daiso to come to Austin for a long time. But of course, there are other locations even within Texas and outside of Texas. I know San Antonio is a big one that really wants a Daiso to come there. And I think there probably are future plans to bring Daiso to San Antonio. But I think the location, and because we're in this plaza that happens to have a lot of other really great businesses from across Asia, such as the Kinokuniya bookstore, Kura Sushi, all of that. So it really just worked out to have this location available to us for the Austin store.
Fantastic. Do you have any favorite Daiso products that you feel like, even if you could go anywhere else in America, you would still buy it from Daiso?
So I am big into art and craft supplies myself. So one of the things I usually go for is stationery and craft supplies. So in terms of like the masking tape, the washi tape, it's a big thing that I always tend to buy here. Letter sets and things like that. I'm big into like sending stationery and letters to my friends. And of course, there's the kitchen tools, which you can't really find anywhere else. I was searching Austin for like weeks looking for a rice pedal, and it wasn't until I was able to go to Daiso that I was able to find a rice pedal.
Absolutely. I mean, we're in the kitchen section where we will be showing you a little bit of this footage. But for those of you who are into really cute bentos and like onigiri and things like that, they have a whole section here of things that you absolutely cannot get anywhere else but Daiso. I mean, I know that Austin has previously had some discount Japan stores, but they did not have this type of selection. So please, if you have in your mind a different store that you've been to, put that out of your mind because Daiso is different. Daiso is so much better, and the prices are better too. So I know that a lot of our audience is familiar with Tabby Eats, the YouTube channel, and so the Tabby Eats guys review a lot of these kitchen products. So if you guys don't know how to use them, there's even instructions online, so you don't have to worry. But even when you go to Japan, there's instructions both in Japanese and in English. So you don't have to worry about not understanding or trying to use Translate on how to figure out how to use some of these specific kitchenware products.
I always found that very useful when I was in Japan, when my Japanese was a little bit on the shaky side. It was always very useful to have the instructions both in English and in Japanese.
And even that is pretty rare, so kudos to Daiso. Is there anything else that you would like to really bring to our attention? So a lot of our audience, in fact, let's step back a little bit. Tell us, but let me think of how to word this exactly. Tell us what Daiso, the brand, is really famous for. I mean, you said that it's quality merchandise. Is there anything else that, when you hear the word Daiso, this is what you think of?
So I think for me, when I think about Daiso, I think about basically all of the needs that you could have in your house, whether it be kitchen supplies, cleaning supplies, health and beauty, dishware, and things like that. Really, it's kind of a store where you can get anything you need. And it was always very convenient when I was living in Japan to be able to say, oh, I need this new thing for my apartment, or I need this new craft supply. And if it wasn't at Daiso, I would be pretty shocked to find it not at Daiso. So for me, the Daiso brand just means having a wide variety of items for anything you could possibly need, and having the reassurance that that's going to be a quality product that's also at a very reasonable price.
Absolutely. I've never had a Daiso item fall apart on me. I mean, I've had some for years and years, and they're still like, again, some of you may have the opinion that dollar store items are inexpensive and they're cheap and they're not going to last very long, but that is not true of Daiso products. I'm looking right here at some of these silicone molds. These are actually the same type of quality that you would get at a department store, but it's a 200 yen, well, $2 price, I'm assuming. Some of the prices are here. So you may notice not everything in the store is $1.50, but everything in the store is reasonable. So you look at what the price is marked in yen, and then it'll tell you what you'll be paying for it in US dollars. They do have to mark it up just a little because of the shipping costs. So, you know, obviously, if you can go to Japan, it will be less expensive, but then you've got to bring it back here. And trust me, from personal experience, all the extra luggage costs add up. So you're better off getting it here and just paying incrementally just a little bit more. But it's still a fantastic value. Absolutely. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I guess for people coming in for the first time for Daiso, feel free to ask questions to the staff. We're more than happy to assist you. And one of the things that we really strive for at Daiso, not only is just having quality products at a reasonable price, but also really having top-notch customer service. And we really pride our members. A lot of the members who work here are very interested in Japan, Japanese products, things like that. And they're here because they really want to be here and help you find what you need. So feel free to reach out to any of the members when you come in with any questions. If you have questions about the pricing or anything like that, we're more than happy to help you.
That is fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to the store being officially open. And I'll probably be sending my husband here because I don't get out a whole lot, but I already have been starting to compile my "you got to come here and buy it" list. So thank you so much for your time today. We're going to be showing you more of the rest of the store so that you guys can have a better idea of the products that are available. And hopefully you'll be creating that must-buy list along with us today. Thanks so much, and we'll be back with you in a few minutes. Thanks, y'all. I hope that you enjoyed that brief interview. Today, we are mostly going to be talking about budget travel tips, but we will be showing you some very short, much shorter interviews with some of the Daiso members throughout the day, just showing you some of their favorite items and things like that. But if you guys haven't already, if you came in a little bit late, like I said, we're mostly going to be talking about budget travel tips. These do apply to Japan and the rest of the world. Some of them apply to the rest of the world. And we'll just be interspersing it with some little samples of some video that we shot yesterday. You may have seen my mask has the Amabiye, which is the Japanese yokai to ward off pandemics. So hopefully we can all stay safe. You guys may know I have been in isolation since February. I've only leave the house for doctor's appointments, but I could not resist the chance to see Daiso early. So that was a lot of fun. We have a lot of comments in the chat, so let me respond to those quickly if we can. We are going to be probably doing a character bento presentation, or at least a kawaii bento presentation sometime in the new year, probably in the Make Your Monday slot. Unless you guys would like it during the Japan story slot, just let me know. I mean, one is in the evening, one is in the afternoon. Let me see what else we have. So Lesser Kenny Cosplay says there's a Don Quixote in California, which I did not know. We'll talk about that later when we talk about discount shopping. Did you end up hiding the things you wanted? No, I didn't, because they had so much of everything. I'll show you. I have some photos coming up later of the things that I really, really want. I've made my shopping list, and I will be sending my husband back. He's going on Wednesday to pick up the things that I really cannot live without. Let's see what else. I think that's, yeah. Hi, hon. I'm glad that you're here. It is kind of like a Japanese Bed Bath & Beyond, but they also have food. They have like automotive supplies. They have a little bit of everything. It is really impressive. And we tried to give you, and they have a huge Christmas section already. So that's usually holidays. Because they were originally supposed to open on the 30th of October, they didn't bring out the Halloween stuff. I do have some Halloween things to show you from Daiso Japan, though. This is my little magic wand. I don't know if you can see it. It's a little wiggly thing. I love it. This is one of the things that you can get from Daiso Japan, from Daiso in Halloween. And then this is another one. Let's see if you can hear the noise. I would leave this on all the time, but it is kind of noisy. So next year we have this to look forward to from Daiso. Let me see if I can turn this off because it's loud. There we go. Akashicon will be in the front of the line on opening day. Actually, a lot of us are waiting till the second day because the store wasn't even open yet, and there were people coming in trying to get in the door constantly. So I can guarantee that on opening day, it is going to be really full. They are completely enforcing social distancing, staying 6 feet apart, wearing masks, using hand sanitizer, etc. But people can be excited, you know, and I'm immune compromised. So I apologize. You saw my rollator in the background there, but you do know that I use mobility aids at all times when I'm out. We try to keep it out of most of the other video, but you know, sometimes it happened, sometimes it didn't. Let's move to the budget travel tips. We can go back to the slides. I will tell you, we have giveaways available. They are from Daiso. They're not from the Austin Daiso. There's some that I bought from Plano Daiso because, you know, Daiso's not open yet in Austin, so we didn't get the chance to shop there. But we actually have some things pre-prepared for you. They're little pencil cases, little pouches, little plastic pouches, types of things. The way we're going to be giving things away today, if you're within the United States, probably Canada, if you ask a really good question, then I will award you a prize. One per person, please. But, you know, I'm just going to be watching the chat today. And if it's something that I feel like is really useful and something I haven't covered coming up, then you can be awarded some of our cute little, they're very Kelly, very adorable little pencil cases, makeup pouches, things like that. Well, I say makeup pouches, but they're just empty plastic bags. You can put whatever you want to in them. And then one of them is actually a pass case. So like if you travel, if you have a bus pass or a Suica Passmo pass, types of things we'll talk about later, you can carry your pass in that. So without further ado, let me get into some of today's topics. I'm giving you the complete list so that you know what to wait for as we're going along. First thing I'm probably going to talk about is handling money. Like, how do you exchange money? How do you save money on your credit cards? So that should be there's actually a lot of tips that have saved me quite a bit of money just on that, and these apply anywhere in the world. I'll also talk about how to find less expensive flights. We'll talk about things that you need to know before you go. So like packing tips and other things. We'll talk about how to find reasonably priced accommodation and some of the options that you have. How to save money when you're traveling inside Japan. So from one city to the next. We'll talk about discount food. Obviously, some of us have some strong opinions about that, which will be awesome. I hope you'll chime in later. And activities that are free or very discounted. And then some of our favorites, I know you guys love it, but some of the discount shopping. And then in between, we will show you some of the sneak peeks of Daiso. So let me check the chat here. Han says, when I was in Japan, I was like, I don't need one of those. And then when I left, I keep beating myself up for not having bought 5 of them. I agree 100%. I usually go to Japan more than once a year. And so when I'm there the first time, I'm like, yeah, I don't have room in my luggage, or I don't have the budget, or whatever. And if it's still in my mind by the time I go back, it's the first place I go. So probably it's starting to get cooler here in Austin. I know, cool in Austin, but you know, I get really cold when it's 60 degrees out. You will see some of the outfits that I purchased because I went there in the spring and I said, oh, I don't need it now. And then I went back and it's like, I can't live without it. It's too cute. It has to come home with me. Let's see what else. Lester Kinney Cosplay says, hope to work things out in April. We can plan trips again. Absolutely. So April is when they are tentatively saying they might let tourists back in. And I know I'm not going to book a flight until I know that it's going to be acceptable to go in there. A lot of us in the Akashikan family are planning on going in October. No, we're not paying for you, but we are possibly going to have a meetup in October. So that should be fun, and we'll be doing some live broadcasts in there when we go. Do remember that Japan time is like the opposite of US time, so it would be the middle of the night. But certainly next time we are in Japan, we will be coming to you live from there, and you can give us a list of things that you might want us to see. But let's move on to some of these budget tips so that you also can afford to come with us. Things about saving. So this is just general information about travel saving. First thing to know is choose carefully when you want to go and where you want to go. Now, Japan has certain seasons that are the most popular with tourists. Cherry blossom season, which is late March into April, is the most popular and generally the most expensive, but also Golden Week, which is a holiday where people within Japan, so that's the end of April into May, my first trip to Japan, we made a huge mistake. We didn't know about Golden Week, and we were on an Asian and Australian tour going to multiple places. So we only had 4 days in Japan, and that happened to be during the 5-day holiday of Golden Week. And so many things were closed. All we could do was go shopping, and that's how we learned about Daiso. So it wasn't a bad trip at all. We really enjoyed it. But Golden Week and Obon, which is usually in the middle of August, are when people in Japan have time off. And so they're going to be traveling back to their homes, back to their families, or just taking vacations. So hotels get booked up and the prices can be raised because of that. But basically, spring and fall have the loveliest weather, but also that tourists know that nature's beautiful, prices are higher. For Japan in particular, it may be cheaper to go in June where the weather is wet and hot and miserable, or January and February where it's freezing cold. Again, remember that the lower the cost, the fewer the frills or amenities you're going to get. So, maybe you'll get worse weather. Or when we're talking about accommodation, you may be sharing a room with strangers if you're in a dorm-style hostel, or even if you have your own room, or in a capsule hotel, you still have to share the bathroom facilities and toilet facilities. And I do have to say, unfortunately, when we're talking about accessible travel for disabled people, most of these tips are not going to apply, because when you're trying to get accessible rooms, you can't bargain as much, you can't shop around as much. I will be having a program hopefully in January. I'm trying to get an interview with Josh of accessiblejapan.com. I will be having an interview specifically and a show specifically about people with disabilities and people with food intolerances and things traveling to Japan. So I got you. I'm working on that, but today's tips may or may not apply to you. Let's see. Sefi says, I went during Obon week by accident, which is also during Comiket weekend, and I spent quite a bit of money. It wasn't painful. I actually felt like my food budget was the cheapest it's ever been, and I ate better food. That is really interesting, but I bet you were mostly in Tokyo. Tough during Christmas also. Apparently, Christmas and New Year's is one of the biggest times, most expensive times to go, which I was actually planning to go for New Year's this year. But, if there's something that is like a must-see event, whether it's Comiket or whether it's, these New Year festivals, these huge festivals, if you guys would like, we can talk about festivals next month. There's always some kind of festival going on, but some of them are like big national events. And if people in Tokyo during Obon are going home back out to the country, and so Tokyo is going to be more empty during Obon. But if you want to travel around, it's a bit more difficult. I see y'all are talking about Christmas in the chat. I'm just going to let you talk about that for now, since that's not super relevant. Well, okay, KFC is relevant in that it's a inexpensive place to eat, but not for Christmas, because KFC in Japan stands for Kentucky for Christmas. Did you know that? Okay, no, it really stands for Kentucky Fried Chicken, but they created this campaign back in the 80s. That's why KFC is like a quintessential Christmas dish, because Japan imported Christmas wholesale from the West. Han says, I was there in early April, started in Okinawa and traveled. Oh, did you follow the cherry blossoms all the way up? Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. And yeah, absolutely. There's an entire map that you can get where you follow the cherry blossoms. Now, they're quite early in Okinawa usually, so that's months ahead of everywhere else. But, you start on the eastern side and then they bloom as you're going west. I think my camera is probably backwards to you as you're going west. And so you start in March and go all the way up in Hokkaido. They start blooming at the end of April, and you can just follow them around and it's gorgeous. But again, it's going to be more expensive during that season. It's not to say that you can't still have a good time for a reasonable price, because we went for 2 months at that season last year and still got some really amazing deals, which I will talk about later. So that's just the generic one. Oh, sorry, got it. I flipped over into the wrong window. There we go. Let's just talk about money, like literally how to get your US dollars, your Canadian dollars, your Australian dollars, whatever your national currency is, into yen. Some of these cards that I recommend are specific to the United States or North America. Some of them are also available in the UK and Australia. If you have questions, I can look them up for you. So you can always email me at julianinjapan@gmail.com, or you can message me at julianinjapan on Instagram, and I can, look these up for you. But I don't know. I have traveled to Japan both from Australia and from the United Kingdom, but I don't remember off the top of my head which brands of things we used. So I will tell you my number one tip for saving up for a trip, whether it's to Japan or anywhere else, is to get the Barclaycard Arrival Plus credit card. It is specifically the Arrival Plus. It's not any of the other Barclay cards, but for every dollar you spend, you get a certain number of points, and then those points can be used on any travel purchases later. Basically, you save up to 1,000 points, and then that's $100 off. So it's getting 1% of all of your transactions back specifically to use in travel. And then even after you use those reward points, you get 10% of those points back. So again, another 10% discount on that. We spent and we put all of our transactions on a credit card and then pay it off at the end of the month. So I don't recommend, getting yourself into debt over any of this, but just use a credit card, pay it off. The first year is generally free, and then afterwards you can use your accumulated points to pay the annual fee, which I think is $89 at the moment. They usually have a special where once you sign up, if you spend a certain amount, I think it's $3,000 in the first 3 months, you'll get 10,000 points. So that is automatically $100 towards your travel. And it's really not costing you more if this is the type of stuff that you normally buy. And the thing about the Barclaycard Arrival Plus is you can use it on any airline, any hotel, any like car rental. You're not specific to any particular line. Now, some of you may also have cards. My parents have them, like for Marriott and Hyatt Regency and some other brands. So you can save up points that way too. But whichever way you'd like to do it, think about planning your trip far enough in advance that you can be using your everyday transactions to save money in ways that, it's not even saving money. It's just people giving you rewards for it. Let's check the chat again. Timmy Source says other cards do have travel points, but look around. Barclaycard was rated the best last year, but others are competing. In fact, Chase Sapphire Rewards is even better, but they have a $450 per year fee, which to me is out of my range. They're more for corporate travel for big companies. Let's see what else we have. I learned in Japanology Plus that Japan is slowly changing the currency. They're hoping to phase out. I did not know that they're hoping to phase out the old bills, but every country does change. Like the United States is doing it too. So they do change their bills and their coins at certain intervals. Let's see, if you're eligible for USAA banking, they're really good. I'm going to get into banking in just a minute because credit cards for saving up points are different for credit cards that will save you money while you're traveling, and are different from bank accounts that will save you money while you're traveling. So that's my next point. If you have a regular credit card of any kind or a debit card of any kind, usually, not always, because these are the exceptions I'm going to tell you. You need to check with them before you do an international transaction, because some cards will charge you a percentage. I know that my credit union, I love my credit union. That's where I do most of my banking. But on any of the cards from my credit union, they charge me a 1% fee if it is an international transaction. And obviously, you don't want to pay an extra 1% for everything that you are buying. They also can charge more if it's an international ATM, and then most ATM cards have some kind of fee both from your bank and from the ATM itself. And then obviously in Japan, which ATMs you can use is a more complicated question that I have answered in a previous show. If you can look in the Akashikan YouTube channel, I did have a planning your trip to Japan that I did in last July as part of Akashikan at Home. And that's a 2-hour session that does talk about more generic things about traveling to Japan. So I was saving the budget ones here. But I recommend, if you want to save on those transaction fees, that you get a credit card from Chase or Regions Bank. Regions Bank is a Texas bank that's been bought out by Chase. And it doesn't matter which one you get. We have the one that's IHG hotels. So again, we get some hotel points on that one, but they do not charge you any kind of international fees whatsoever. So you don't have to pay the additional 1%. Misty Ibuki is saying Amex. I don't know about Amex. I don't know some of these others. Chase is the one that I knew because of Regions being a Texas bank, but check with your bank. And also remember, always tell your credit cards and your bank that you're leaving the country, because otherwise they may freeze your cards because of fraud issues. And you don't want that to happen. I mean, we had 2 of our cards hacked while we were in Japan one time. So fortunately we had some others, but you know, you don't want to be stuck overseas with cards that you can't use. But the next thing that I have listed, the Charles Schwab Investor Checking Account Debit Card. This is the only one that I know of that does not charge you any international transaction fees, does not charge you any ATM fees, and actually refunds you the money that the ATM itself charged you. So, you know, usually you go to an ATM, it's not your bank, and it'll charge you like $1.50 or something. The Charles Schwab Investor Checking Debit Card will give you that $1.50 back. So I don't know of anywhere else that does that. Like I said, I normally do my banking through my credit union, but when I'm traveling, I always use this particular one. You can transfer things online, and it's pretty quick to set up. So I really recommend that. So those are my top 3 ways to kind of save yourself some money without spending any extra money. Now let's talk about IC cards. So a lot of you know that Japan is still very cash-based. That's why I have at the bottom there, cash is still king. They have been changing. They are working more towards getting credit cards accepted, but a lot of the small independent stores still don't accept credit cards, but they do accept IC cards. IC cards are basically, I don't even remember what IC stands for, but it's prepaid cards that you can charge up. Usually these were created for transit, but they are now accepted at in the major cities, at least, not the small cities. You can use them at vending machines. You can use them at a lot of convenience stores. Family Mart takes them most places. But here's the thing. A lot of people ask, is there a difference between Pasmo and Suica or some of the other regional options that are out there? And most of the time, there isn't a difference. But if you are someone like me who maybe only saves up a certain amount of cash, or you spend it all on Gachapon, I bought 500 things in Gachapon last year. So yeah, I spent a lot of my cash on Gachapon. So when I wanted to load my IC card, I wanted to use my credit card for that, so that I could wait until the next payday and pay it off. And the only one that I know of that you can do that for is Suica, if you use the Suica app on your phone. And you can get that on the US or Canadian or a lot of the other Western app stores. So whether it's, you know, your Mac app or your Google Play Store or whatever, you can still get that on your native app store, and then have that ready for you when you go to Japan, and you can use your Apple Pay, Google Pay, whatever it is, to load your Suica, and then you don't have to carry the card around either, because you can just tap your phone. And even if sometimes you go to a station that's, you know, out in the country and they don't necessarily tap properly, you can hand it to the guard. They know, you don't have to say any Japanese. You can hand it to the guard and they'll just tap your phone on there, hand you a receipt, and you have paid. So yeah, that was a game changer for me, because it was a way that I could use my quote unquote credit card to purchase things in places that didn't accept credit cards. They only accepted IC cards. So I see Han is very excited about that. Yeah, it was totally different. I think Pasmo is working on it, and they were trying to get an app for the 2020 Olympics, but they're not going to be 2021. But I haven't been back this year, obviously, because of COVID. I don't know if it's been implemented yet. But Suica, absolutely, use your credit card. You do have to preload it every time. So I would just put like $50 on that card and then run it down and then reload it $50 at a time. Your balance does not expire. So if you are going back to Japan in the future, you don't have to worry about it. The only thing I will say about IC cards in general and saving money is that usually if you're buying the physical card, I should have bought them to show you, but I didn't. you have a 500 yen deposit. Right now, the exchange rate, 100 yen is about $1. I think it's about 104 yen to the dollar this past week. But, you know, mentally just think 100 yen, a dollar. And it was a 500 yen deposit, which you could get back if you return the card at the end of your trip. However, last year in summer, they created a special edition Suica card, which is what I'm just about to get to. Thank you, Mr. Ibiki. That has Sakura on it, so of course I bought it. There is no deposit, but it expires after 30 days. So I bought it just to have the souvenir card, then spent all the money that was on it, and then just kept the card. Do older IC cards work for this way still? As far as I know, any issued IC card will still work because they've all been issued within the last 15 years. And the systems are all completely still integrated. But the only thing I was going to say is Suica does have a special tourist edition. I think Pasmo was working on it as well, and those are ones that you can buy that you do not have to have the deposit, and you do not have to return the card afterwards, because so many people were taking them home as souvenirs. I know my niece did that, and it's cool, but you know, if you're not going back to Japan, then that's just $5 that you paid for a card. But if you do get the special traveler's edition, it's no extra fee, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, is that any other questions about money? I also want to say that the least expensive way to transfer dollars into yen, and I'm talking dollars, pounds, whatever it is to just get money directly out of the ATM. You're going to get that day's exchange rate. And if you have the Charles Schwab investor checking debit account, you're not going to have any transaction fees. So if you were to go to a money changer, like I don't know if you've ever been to like TravelX or some of those places where you bring your cash dollars, you know, your hard money, like people use that in America anymore. I don't. But you know, you bring your physical money and then they exchange it for other physical money, and they usually charge you a fee for that transaction. And then also you're not getting the very best exchange rates. That's another way that they kind of make their money off of you. Not only is it with the fee, but it's with having a slightly less good exchange rate. Also, in some places, when you're using a credit card to check out, it will offer if you want to pay in US dollars, if you want to pay in yen. And again, if you want to pay in US dollars because it won't give you an international transaction fee, that may be okay for you. That'll depend on your bank. I don't know if it'll still give you an international transaction fee or not, but you're going to get the better interest rate by paying in yen and letting your bank do the transaction, because otherwise you're at the mercy of someone else's bank and you may not get the best rate. Mr. Ibiki says, I use the exchange at the Japan airport. I do not. There are international ATMs at every airport, and I just walk right up there and get money out straight away. First thing I do after I clear customs. I've never had a problem with that because there's usually a couple dozen of them all around all the terminals of Haneda and Narita and Kanto Airport and Oita Airport. Every airport in Japan that I've been to has the international ATMs there that you can just go up and withdraw cash. If you do really want to do this, like my mother-in-law, because she was paranoid, which I understand, people who don't travel a lot get nervous, you can actually go to your own bank, wherever you live, and say, I would like to order some Japanese yen. And they can get you, you know, $20 or $50 worth of yen. Usually takes them a couple weeks. But, you know, you can have it so that you have cash very first thing when you get off the plane, just in case you're afraid that something's going to happen. But hopefully, yeah, it totally depends on your bank. Sometimes you can go to banks that aren't your bank. Like you can go to Chase Bank or, you know, Bank of America, whatever major bank that you may not bank at, they can still request it for you. Yeah, AAA has that. See, I've been traveling for so long. I still remember when we used to have American Express traveler's checks. Like that was a thing back in the 90s because they didn't take credit cards. And certainly as a student, I didn't have a credit card. So I can tell you the old stories of how we used to have to try to change money all the time. And like finding a place when I lived in Italy that would accept an American check. But y'all aren't here for that. You're here about modern world, aren't you? Because some of y'all were not even born in 1993 when I started this international travel. Let's move on. I was trying to hit the next button in where the camera is, and obviously that's not going to advance my slides at all. I'm sorry, your power went out, Ashley. I hope that, oh, you're back. I'm glad that you're back. You have missed things about saving money but with credit cards and ATM cards. At any point, if you guys would like a copy of these slides, remember to email me at julianneinjapan@gmail.com, and I will send you this entire slide presentation, because there's a lot of names, a lot of links, and there's too much for us to put up on our website because it would just be a massive long page. But I'm happy to just send you this entire presentation, and you can just copy the names and websites out of it. So if you do miss something, we can go back. Well, you can look it up later. Or obviously, you can watch the replay later. It's going to be available on Twitch and on YouTube. Next topic is flights. This is going to be your number one biggest expense as far as like a dollar value of one item. This is going to be your biggest expense for a trip to Japan. And my best advice is to be flexible, because the more specific your dates are, the more you're going to be locked in, and you can't necessarily shop for slightly better prices. So here's some tips that I have. These are for people who haven't booked yet. They're looking long range. Remember, or you don't have maybe you don't have your dates set yet. So remember that Barclaycard Arrival Plus, or maybe you have an airline credit card, or some of these other credit cards are ways that you can save up money. We used a Barclaycard Arrival Plus for about 18 months and got one of our 2 flights completely free. I don't mean round trip. I mean, there were 2 of us traveling. So we were able to get an $1,100 ticket because we went during high season, completely free because we had the Barclaycard Arrival Plus. So you can also, I know some of you may have, you may travel for work, you may get frequent flyer points, things like that. But be thinking about this very far in advance, because it can take 1 to 2 years to really save up enough points to get, a free ticket to Japan, even more if you don't travel very often. Now, I will say there are some discount flight aggregators that I recommend. These are a little bit tricky because, sorry, I'm looking at a hand saying cars and Amex travel points. I know I had 2 trips to Japan planned this year. I had a trip to Europe. I did get to go to Puerto Rico, but that was all. I had 3 road trips. All were canceled because of COVID. And I'm back in the house for a while. And there's no traveling this year. And there's nothing more depressing than having a travel Instagram when you can't travel. But that's why we're here, and I'm telling you my tips. So discount flight aggregators. Let me explain what these are. These are companies that search all the databases for you, and then they'll let you know when they find discounted flights. Now, these will be to anywhere. It's not like you can say, I only want discount flights to Japan. They'll just be a list of all the discount flights from your local airport. And so some of them you pay for. So the 2 that I have used out of the paid ones are called Dollar Flight Club and Scott's Cheap Flights. You pay something like one of them is $25 and one of them is $40 a year. One of them will give you a refund back if you don't book any flights within 6 months. I can't remember which one that was. But basically, you'll just get an email every day of what really amazing deal that they have found today. I mean, sometimes it's flights to Europe for under $500. Sometimes it's flights to Japan for $600. But they usually only tell you that the flight dates are usually only about 3 to 4 months in advance. So if you're flexible enough that you aren't like me and you don't get super agitated if you don't have a flight booked well and truly before you want to, be leaving, then you can get some really good deals from these places. Also, for those of us in the Central Texas area, I'm going to give a big shout out to Escape ATX, because that's free. Absolutely free. You can just get on that mailing list, and obviously right now, because of COVID, you're only getting like $89 flights to California. They're only domestic flights. But once Americans are not locked into the country anymore, where the country's starting to let us in, then that I used to get something 2 or 3 emails every day of like a discount to Finland, discount to South Africa, discount to whatever. And if you are just patient and wait, there will be a discount to probably anywhere you want to go, as long as you're flexible on the dates. There is also a sister website called escape.flights. and it does have other cities, but I think it only has about 20 cities as far as the airport that you can fly out of. I noticed like Milwaukee and some of the East Coast, West Coast, things like that. I don't see any of our regulars from Canada in the chat. I do see some people from the East Coast and some people from the West Coast in the chat, but you'll just have to look at escape.flight's website to see if any of those airports are ones near you. But definitely Escape ATX covers the Austin airport and the San Antonio airport, and I think that there's also a Dallas-Fort Worth option. The other thing that I will tell you about trying to find inexpensive flights in advance is there are flight price trackers. Now these are, I think there's about 5 or 6 different ones on the list, and that's why I have the link here. Again, email me and I'll send you that link, or take a screenshot of this while you're sitting here watching. But TripSavvy has compiled all of the flight price trackers from the United States, and what you'll do is you'll put in where you want to fly from, where you want to fly to, and the approximate dates that you're looking. And then they will send you a notification when they see a sale. So what to expect, certainly flying from Central Texas is the dollar values that I know. I have paid anywhere between $900 and $1,200 per person. I have not ever gone on a really short flight for like a week, but if you go into Google Flights or some of the other travel apps, booking.com, Kayak is one of my favorites because they look at a bunch of different sites, and you say my dates are flexible, then it will tell you, okay, well, you know, if you leave 3 days earlier and come back 4 days earlier or 4 days later, then you can save, I mean, sometimes you save $500 or $600 just by changing the day of the week that you're traveling. And I really recommend that anytime you're going to one of these, you know, flight or booking websites, that you always click that My Dates Are Flexible option, or if sometimes they have a calendar where you can see, I think Google Flights is like that. It shows you the whole month and like, well, it'll be this price if you travel on this day and that price if you travel on that day. I recommend being at least that amount of flexible. If you have to like fly out on a Saturday and come back on a Sunday, you know, because you only have 6 days off work or whatever, then, you know, you're not going to be able to take advantage of this. You're probably going to have higher prices. They used to have all kinds of travel myths that, oh, it's cheaper to travel on a Tuesday. Those don't apply anymore. So that's back in the day, back when I was a student, you know, Tuesday nights or something were cheaper, but not anymore. Although generally speaking, weekdays will be cheaper for international flights than weekends because, you know, people want to take more advantage of the days so they don't have to take as many days off work. But, you know, your mileage may vary. Literally. Let me check the chat again. Travel YouTubers had to get creative content this year. Absolutely. A lot of people have been showing their hometown a lot, which is fine, but I haven't even been going to my hometown. Let's see what else we have. Looks like you have to sign up before you can see what airports they track. Yes. But I think Dollar Flight Club and Scott's Cheap Flights have 7-day free trials. I can't remember. I am on Dollar Flight Club right now only because when they were traveling, they offered a year free, but I don't think that offer is still valid. I don't normally pay for those two because I'll be perfectly honest, I found I had specific dates that I wanted to travel, and I'm not comfortable waiting until 3 months before my intended trip to book my flight because I like booking my flight first and then booking my accommodation, because otherwise if your flights are different, like you had to change from Tuesday to Wednesday, then you've got to go change your accommodation. So for me, I wasn't super comfortable with that. I will also warn you, this is just by way of, especially if you're in Central Texas, if you go to some of the wonderful Japanese related cultural nonprofits, and they sometimes have silent auctions for an unlimited, you know, flight on some of the major airlines, and you can bid for those, and some of them are less expensive than others. But if you're buying one of these traveler certificates, that's a changeable travel certificate, they are going to charge, they say, oh, but you have to pay taxes and fees. And you think, well, taxes aren't that much, about $100. But fees is the airline's fuel surcharge. So we have sometimes spent up to an extra $350 per person on top of the flight certificate that we've already bought. So it may seem like a good deal, But keep that in mind, and you're not even going to know what those fuel surcharges are until you're ready to lock in your dates. So, like, I would buy a certificate in June, but then not travel until October. And, you know, I couldn't tell in advance how much I was going to pay. But it is pretty significant now that the airline industry has, they adjust every time the price of gasoline rises, they adjust that fee as opposed to adjusting the ticket price. But nowadays, all of your online search engines and your travel agents are going to show you the combined price. So, it used to be a long time ago when we first had Expedia, all these other ones that just came out, they would show you the ticket price and then the fees separately, and you'd get a lot of sticker shock. But they don't do that anymore, so you don't really have to worry. So I need to take a bit of a breath and a bit of a sip of water. Next, we are going to show you another small clip from Daiso, where we have Daiso member Ruby showing their favorite and my favorite section, which is the arts and crafts supplies in Daiso. This is a very short clip, so we will be back with several more budget money saving tips after this. Let's see if we can get that video up. And this is both Ruby's and my favorite section in Daiso, the crafting department. So can you tell us some of your favorite things here?
Okay, well, one thing I like the most is their section of cloth. It is really difficult to find things that are cotton or mostly cotton, and most of these are either 100% or at least 60% cotton poly blend, which is very important, especially if you're wanting to get some of these for, like, mask making. It's dire important.
And as most people may not know, something like 2/3 of quilting cotton, which is it's often made for masks, is printed in Japan. What's sold in America is printed in Japan. These are the best finishing techniques. So this is not only inexpensive, it's top quality fabric.
Mm-hmm. And my other most favorite thing about it not only are like the little quilt cuts, they like have a very cute pattern, but they're also very plush and soft, so you can still tell they're very high quality. One other thing I genuinely didn't expect is all the different size of like crochet needles. And they even have a little repair kit too, in case like you miss a notch or like a tear happens.
Yeah, well, yeah, because especially more for knitting, if you've got a drop stitch and you've got to hook it all the way back up, that is perfect. And you've got both the kinds with the squeezy grip for the smaller hooks and the larger, which I tend to use more, but if you've got a smaller hook, you really want a bigger grip for it.
Oh, definitely. I was saying there's like no end of like pin cushions for needles. And speaking of needles, there are so many you could pick from too. So that's also a nice thing.
So for those of you who watched my show on Sashiko or Boro, this is a great place to get the needles that I mentioned. It looks like we've also got some of the threads. So we've got some of the embroidery threads. So do you know, maybe you don't know the answer to this, but do you know if people had special requests for things I've seen in other Daisos, maybe the Daiso up in the Dallas area? Is there a way that we could ask for something to be stocked here?
As far as I know, I don't have much information on that. I would recommend talking to one of the higher up managers about that. But there is a chance, if requests can come in, it should be fairly easy for us to be able to get like new products, I would say. It just might take a bit in terms of shipping.
Oh, absolutely. That's completely understandable. But there are some very special Daiso specific kits that I have mentioned on one of our previous shows. And I'm not seeing them at the moment, but that doesn't mean that they're not coming. Let me also show you some of my favorite things. These are the needle felting supplies. Now, if you're in Austin, you may know that we have a dedicated felting store called Living Felt. And it is down on Highway 290, almost all the way to, it's in the Convict Hill, Oak Hill area on 290. So it's barely in Austin, but it is one of the few felting stores in America. However, this is excellent quality felting wool, needle felting supplies, and very, very affordable. So if you've already got the needle felting bug, and you can also wet felt with these. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry. We may do a needle felting tutorial sometime on Make Your Monday next year. If you guys would like that, let me know. But otherwise, remember that if you're into felting or if you're into applique, they have a great selection of stuff here. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
No, I was just about to say we have what I like to call the wall of felt, which pretty much just has everything. We even have hard felt. although I don't know where it is necessarily on the wall at the moment.
You've got some of these. Oh, down here, the thick felt. So you guys may have seen my Eat a Bag show that I did, I guess it was in June, for making your own Eat a Bag inserts. This thick felt here is really particularly good for putting your pins into if you have a smaller Eat a Bag to make your own insert. And then you can cover it with some of the beautiful fabrics that they have down here. Y'all know I love my Sakura. And they have a Sakura print right there on the bottom. So obviously, I have my eye on that. Pants are finally open. Thanks so much. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks. Thanks, y'all. I hope you enjoyed that. The interviews are going to get shorter and the tips are going to get more. So don't worry if you're not interested in Daiso, but if you are interested in Daiso, stay all the way to the end where we have a walk through this complete store. Let me just remind you, because I forgot to say this in the intro, if you are in the United States or you are a United States citizen and you are eligible to vote, please remember to vote on November 3rd. I don't care who you vote for, but please vote. And remember that you do not have to vote for every single race. You can just vote for school board or 1 or 2. Or if you really want to make a protest, show up and then don't vote for anybody. But the way to make that statement made, as opposed to not going, is to go there and actually show up, either in-person voting, early voting, or if you were eligible for absentee ballot. That's a great thing. Make sure you mail them. So I digress. Let's go back to our tips. Sorry, that was the sign to tell me that we were getting to go to that video. Let's go into some of the things before you go. I will try to be a little bit quicker, but remember, I have promised I will stay here as long as it takes to get all the questions answered. One thing I will say is consider travel insurance. I know it sounds like an extra expense at the beginning, but if you get injured, if your luggage gets lost, if something goes wrong, if you're in a typhoon, like happened to Misty, Ibiki, and I last year, and maybe you're in a mudslide and something goes horribly wrong, it's way cheaper to get travel insurance in advance than it is to have to pay for all of these expenses out of pocket. It's usually about $100, no matter how long your trip is. Well, sorry, up to $100. I think the most I paid was about $175 for a 2-month trip. Oh, Lester was also in the typhoon. A lot of us tend to go in October, which is typhoon season. So, be careful. I find if you have pre-existing health conditions, you have to be careful about your travel insurance. I can give you the specific names of the ones that I use, but I also find that the airline travel insurance that you can buy when you're buying your ticket is really good and covers pre-existing conditions. So it's a lot better than it used to be. Let's also talk about Wi-Fi or internet. If you want to travel around in Japan, you're probably going to need something like GPS on your phone or a Wi-Fi hotspot. My personal cheapest way of getting it is I'm on Sprint, which is now owned by T-Mobile, and you can get free texts and free low-level data. And then if I want high-speed data, I pay $5 a month on the Japan plan on Sprint. And I've heard that T-Mobile is completely free, even for high-speed data. I do not know that for sure. Credit card travel insurance, as Timmy sort of says, can also be pretty good. Sometimes you get free, some of it free with the credit card, or if you have an airline or a travel insurance card, like the Barclays card or Ravel Plus that we have. Sometimes it gives you free travel insurance if you buy your ticket on that card. But back to Wi-Fi and internet, you're probably going to want something. Check with your cell phone provider first, because that can be the cheapest. Actually, I think I have a whole slide on this coming up in a minute. And then I'll give you some packing tips, because obviously if you're going on a long haul flight, there's some things you're going to want to take. And obviously guidebooks are kind of an important thing. I know that we feel like we get all of our information on the internet, but people who've really sat down and compiled this information for you, this is something you're going to want to read before you go, and then maybe not take it with you, especially if it's a physical copy. Just take photos of the book, of the pages that you need, although a lot of them can be purchased in ebook format. So let me go ahead. Here we go. I do have the more information on the Wi-Fi internet options, at least, check with your mobile or cellular phone provider. Some of them are crazy expensive for international. Some of them, like Sprint and T-Mobile, are very inexpensive and are better than all the other options that you can do. But if you do want a Wi-Fi hotspot or a SIM card for your phone, it's often cheaper to prepay before you go over to Japan. And then you can pick them up at the airports, or sometimes they will deliver them to your hotel. Well, if you're not staying at a hotel, obviously you will need the airport option. The one that we particularly recommend for unlimited data is Mobile. Mobile is also the only one that will give you a Japanese phone number. So if you want to make calls inside Japan and you want to have a Japanese phone number so that, maybe your next hotel or your friends can call you, they're the only company that allows a tourist to get a Japanese phone number. And again, it's less expensive if you book that in advance. Now, there are hotspots and these SIM cards that you can put in your phone that you can get from vending machines at the airport or some kiosks at the airport. So if you didn't do it beforehand, you're not completely out of luck. But, again, we're trying to save you just a little bit of money. Also, if you really just want to use the free Wi-Fi options, most Starbucks, McDonald's, other places do have free Wi-Fi. I highly recommend the Japan Free Wi-Fi app that you can get on your App Store, Google Store, whatever store. I don't remember what the Windows one's called. But download that and it'll be a map that'll show you all the free Wi-Fi in whichever city in Japan that you may be in. And I highly recommend that you get some of the offline map apps as well, so that you have a map downloaded at least. Using Wi-Fi can be complicated and confusing. Misty says Line. What are you talking about Line in particular? I mean, Line is a messaging app and you can use it for some phone calls, but businesses don't always want to call you on a Line app. I'm not sure. If that's not what you're talking about, then go ahead and comment again. So I will check back on that. But yeah, if you want an actual Japanese phone number, then Mobile is the only option that I'm aware of so far. Yeah, Line is basically the social media app that is very popular in Japan. And if you're not on it, you should probably be on it, because places like Tokyo Hands, if you're on there, they'll give you discount cards and you can get coupons. Even if you can't read Japanese, if you follow some of your favorite stores, you can get the coupons sent to you in Line. And all of your, some Airbnbs only want to communicate through Line. Thank you, Lester Kenny Cosplay. So again, that's an app I really recommend. It is free unless you're buying the stickers. If you do buy the stickers and you really like some of the characters, then you can go to the Line character shop. But you can find out about those types of things if you go back and watch my replay from two episodes ago, which was Tokyo for Geeks. So we do talk about some of the Line stores and things like that in Character Street and Tokyo Station. Now, packing considerations. This may not be important for you if you are not a shopaholic like me, but remember that you may have in-flight needs. And obviously, if you are buying these at the last minute and you're just going to whatever store is local, it may cost you a lot more. I'm about to show you that Daiso has a lot of products that you will need for your carry-on. I'll get to that in just a second. Also, how large is your suitcase can be important, because we all kind of want to maximize the space that we have. But if you're taking the Shinkansen, then there are extra fees if your bag is over a certain size. And that does include the size that most of us in America travel with. So you need to know that in advance. Sometimes it can save you money to have a slightly smaller suitcase, because I'll be honest, you usually max out your weight before you max out your space on a lot of things. But if you need an extra bag, it's going to be less expensive and a lot easier to bring a folding bag that you bought somewhere at discount. I can send you Amazon links if you're an Amazon shopper, and not have to be looking around for a second suitcase or a bag that's airline acceptable while you're in Tokyo or other parts of Japan, because they're not inexpensive there. I'll be honest, they're way cheaper. Yeah, worrying about carrying it upstairs, worrying about carrying your luggage, but the money aspect of it is the bullet train will charge you more if it's what they consider oversized. But what they consider oversized is normal airline size. Also, when you're packing, do remember, obviously, your medications you're going to want to bring with you. Some things that are completely common in the United States can be hard to find in Japan. It's not that they don't have them, but, unless you're really good at reading Japanese, you may have trouble finding like acetaminophen, which is Tylenol, or paracetamol, which is the equivalent, but in most of the rest of the world. Or if you're looking for ibuprofen, I don't think we found ibuprofen. We just found aspirin. So whatever it is, even if it's not a medication that you take regularly, I definitely recommend that you take some with you. Although, if you're going for more than 30 days, then you have to start getting into a license to bring things in particularly. And we will get into that when we talk about our accessible travel. Yeah, some things are not legal, even if they are by prescription, but all of that we'll talk about in the accessible travel presentation. But if you're bringing in like less than 30 days of most over-the-counter things, I think certain cold medication like Sudafed, like real Sudafed, is not legal. But look all that up in advance. Which one is closest to ibuprofen in Japan? I do not remember. That's why we were stumped, and my husband just bought aspirin. We thought he had brought enough Aleve, and he was, if you're not used to walking every day, he didn't have as much ibuprofen as he needed, or as much Aleve as he needed. So we kept having to, we went to all these different pharmacies looking for them. Anyway, save yourself some money and time and headache by bringing things with you. Bufferin is one of them. It is an ibuprofen is a buffered aspirin, actually. Bufferin is still in the aspirin family, so if you have an aspirin allergy, you won't be able to take that one. But it is not ibuprofen. I know ibuprofen is legal, but I never could find like what brand it was. But Tylenol was fairly easy to find in some of the pharmacies, and then aspirin was very easy to find. But again, just cough medicine, it's very different. But again, some of the American cough medicines are not legal to take. So when we get to the accessible show, I'll go through all of that. Also, toiletries, antiperspirants are not common in Japan. Deodorants, yes, but antiperspirants are very hard to find. So make sure you bring enough of that. But most other toiletries you can find there. So they have wonderful shampoos and conditioners. Obviously, if you have very different from Japanese hair, so you've got naturally curly hair, you're not going to find your type of products. But like me, you have very straight, very naturally black hair. They have a lot of the silicones in their conditioners, which are smoothing. I really don't have to worry about most of my toiletries when I'm in Japan. I do bring an antiperspirant, but the rest of them I buy there, even at like Daiso. And yeah, cold and flu medicine can be hard if you can't read it and they don't speak any English. They have no idea what you're talking about. So, and it can be more expensive. I found that over-the-counter medication was more expensive than it is in the United States. So again, that's just a way to save yourself a little bit of money. Here are some photos of the travel sections in Daiso. So again, when you're talking about things that you need in your carry-on, like luggage straps, it's very hard to find luggage straps or really unique and adorable luggage tags for the low Daiso prices. Also, I carry with me all of the toiletries that I do need. Like I have a special particular shampoo that I have to use, and so I take shampoo with me, and then I buy conditioner over there, and I got these little silicone bottles, even if I don't take them in my carry-on, but these are the carry-on approved, TSA approved sizes. So this is from the travel section at the Austin Daiso, and you are not going to find better prices for this stuff. So again, they're opening on Tuesday, so I'm assuming no one's traveling before Tuesday. Maybe you are, but hopefully you're not, and you can go pick up your travel supplies in Daiso. Now, let's talk about the other big expense, which is accommodation. Now, this varies hugely. If you get lucky, you can go to couchsurfer.com, and people will let you stay on their couch for free. Sometimes you have to register and accept other people to stay on your couch instead. The couch surfer is literally surfing people's couches, and you can stay for free. I will say that the people who accept guests by couch surfer tend to be very extroverted, and they really like talking to you. If that's not your thing, then homestays and couch surfing is probably not going to be your jam. Usually these are people who, they're a little bit lonely and they really want to have people to talk. I don't like sleeping on a couch. I don't like sleeping on my own couch. I don't like sleeping on anyone's couch, so I'm not doing that. I will say Airbnb is also very tricky in Japan because they really ramped up the regulations on it last year. Now, the idea was to have a lot more of them approved. It can be kind of difficult. Let's see. Yeah, Stephanie Zuri said, remember that if you are a Amazon Prime subscriber, you do get a free Twitch Prime subscription, which you can use to choose to not see ads on our channel. So we really recommend that. We would really appreciate it. It does help us fund some of our little excursions in the future. And, you know, it's a way that you can give a little bit back to Akashicon Online for free if you're already an Amazon Prime subscriber. Also, you can cheer us in the chat, which costs about $1, because it is a big icon and lets us know that you really like what we're doing and that we're on the right track for you. But let's go back to accommodation. The range of options are pretty wide. So let's talk about your cheapest possible option, other than Couchsurfer, is going to be a campsite. I mean, camping's very popular. There's an entire anime about camping in Japan. Campsites or internet or manga cafes can run you between $10 and $15 per person per night. Now, you are expected to vacate after the end of your time, so it's not like you can necessarily store your luggage there in between. And in fact, there's 2 books that I'm going to recommend at the end of this presentation that have lists and lists and lists of these specific internet and manga cafes. Now, I will say, you're in a manga cafe, you get like a little cubicle, and as to whether the lights are on or there's music playing, that is entirely up to them. So, you know, you'll need to bring an eye mask and earplugs and things like that. So again, remember what I said at the beginning, the lower the cost, the lower the frills. Love hotels are also an option. So, I'll get to that just in a minute because they're about the 3rd on the list. I didn't put it on here, but there are hostels. So not only Youth Hostel International, but there are chains of hostels that are available. Some are guest houses. Sometimes you're getting Airbnb for a room in someone's house, not the entire house. And also capsule hotels where you're literally, it's kind of like a coffin. If you're claustrophobic, this is a bad idea, but it's literally just a bed that's enclosed. And, you know, you have all of these facilities. You may be in a dormitory style, so you may be like bunk beds and you're sharing with strangers. You may be able to get a private room if you have enough people, but often you're sharing your bathroom and your toilet facilities with everyone. So they're just communal. Yes, I'm saying that some cafes will not allow foreigners overnight or will not allow people without a residency card. So that's why I do recommend the lists that are in the books that I'm going to recommend later on. Apartments, to me, this sounds counterintuitive, but sometimes if you stay longer, it actually is less expensive. So hotels can be pretty expensive. Apartments can be a lot less per night. But you have to stay over 30 days to get those discounts usually. 30 days is the minimum. I have gotten a solo single person apartment for $1,000 for a month. We have gotten a 2-person apartment, and that like had a little table that you could eat at, and it had a fold-out couch, so you really could have gotten more people, in a futon for extra guests on the floor. Yeah, I mean, it would have been a tight squeeze to have more than 2 people, but that was $1,500 a month. And so if you consider how much your hotels can cost, I did say $80 plus per night. That's more of an average. I have gotten better deals, and I'll tell you that in just a minute, but that's what you should budget. But apartments, obviously, if you do the math per night, it winds up a lot less expensive, and they usually have some very basic cooking facilities like a rice cooker, possibly a hot water maker for tea. Everyone I've stayed in has a microwave. So you can also save some money by being able to cook at home. But, you know, whether you want to do that, whether you even need to do that is going to be another issue because we'll talk about food later. There are a couple of websites that I have listed on the screen. Booking.com is the one that is recommended by some of the travel writers. I haven't used it. My first stop when I'm looking for any kind of accommodation is to go to tripadvisor.com. Now, I know that there are a lot of US-based travel aggregators like Expedia and some of the others, but TripAdvisor has a deal with the Japan National Tourist Office, so they have excellent information and just a wide variety of options in Japan in particular. So it may seem a little bit counterintuitive to go to a US website. One of the reasons why I like it is if people are advertising on TripAdvisor, they do have some level of English that they're speaking. So you can at least email them and get some more additional information without having to worry about it being completely in Japanese. And TripAdvisor will show you aggregations from other websites. So you may notice I have two sites there listed called agoda.com. Agoda focuses mostly on Asia, but they have really good prices. But if you are looking for a specific city, time and place, and you're on TripAdvisor, TripAdvisor will show you the options that are listed on Agoda. And we got really lucky one time on Agoda. We stayed in Kyoto at the Hotel Gracery. So if you saw the giant Godzilla head, that is on a Hotel Gracery in Tokyo. It's about a 4-star hotel, so equivalent with Marriott and Hyatt type things in the United States. And we stayed there for $66 a night for 2 people. Another thing to remember is that Japanese hotels will often charge you extra based on the number of people staying there. It is not like in the United States where a lot of hotels will say it's a flat rate and you can have, 4 people or as many people as you can cram in there. No, they are very picky about that. So even if you find something, you may get, if you say it's for one person and you're really trying to sneak a second person in there, A, that is illegal because you have to show your passport when you're staying in a hotel. But B, if you say it's for one person, you're getting a single bed and they will still charge you extra for someone sleeping on the floor. So be careful. Always put in the correct number of people when you're searching and they'll show you the correct price on there. Viator is another one that I really like, although it's a little bit better for activities than it is for accommodation. But both Viator also very strong in Japan. I don't think it's based in the United States, but it is in English. Do we have any more questions about discount accommodation? Again, when I was talking about, remember where you're going to be going. Obviously, when you're outside of the major cities, prices are going to go way down. And then again, we looking at Agoda and Viator and TripAdvisor. When we went to Oita, so you may remember I did a special about Oita because that is Austin's sister city in Japan. We went, and for $80 a night, we stayed in the #1 hotel in Oita, which is where the imperial family stay when they go there. And I thought it was a good deal. I mean, you can't even get like a 3-star hotel in America for $80 a night most of the time. And when I went there, the people from City Hall were like, "Oh, that is the best hotel in town. The best hotel in town." During Golden Week, actually, or right before Golden Week, for $80 a night. So Agoda can give you some really good deals. But obviously, if you're staying in one city, an apartment is probably going to be a better value for you. And even Airbnb sometimes give you discounts over 7 days. Some hotels will as well. You just have to look out. All of these options, all the like stay 4 days, get a 5th night free, that's all going to be listed on TripAdvisor or Good or Viator. So pause again. Timmy Source is my husband, and he's mentioning the Robot Hotel, which is the Henna Hotel in Temeki-Sano, which has the robot dinosaur concierge and also the little robots that can come to your room, like room service is actually a little robot and it delivers the stuff to you. You're going to pay a little bit more for those, but that was actually a pretty reasonably priced hotel, and it was about a block from our apartment. So we really tried to get the rest of our family to stay there. They were scared of robots eating them, I guess, or dinosaurs eating them. I'm not sure. They stayed a couple more blocks away and we had to walk further. There's nothing else for accommodation. Oh, it's time for another Daiso break. Let us talk to the lovely Delphine, who is showing us the home crockery section, so like the ceramics department. Hi, we're here with Delphine, who's going to show us Delphine's favorite section in Daiso.
Hi.
So what do you want to show us?
So my favorite is all the tableware. I love all the cups and the soup. Because I love my ramen and I love my tea, green tea especially. And so they're all just like really great colors and textures. And they're really affordable as well, which makes it great. And so it makes it, like, I don't know, I feel like kitchenware can be a little plain sometimes, and I love, like, at Daiso, like, makes it exciting to eat and drink.
And you can have like a little bit of Japan in your everyday cookware. I mean, it's things that you use every single day.
Yeah.
So I love that. I have quite a few of these, and it's fun, especially rice bowls. We don't have like, there's no equivalent in America for that specific size bowl. So you have to come to a place like this. If you're really interested in having a proper traditional Japanese cookware, definitely come to Daiso for it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Now, there was a reason why I went to that segment directly after talking about accommodation, is that sometimes when I was in my apartments, especially if they're there for a long period of time, like we had an apartment for 2 months, it wasn't really, we didn't have everything that we needed. So as you heard Jay mention in the first interview, you know, when you have an apartment in Japan, sometimes you need a little extra something, like maybe you need more chopsticks or more cutlery or an extra glass or something. And it's just easy to go to Daiso. And in fact, I recognize most of the stuff in these rental apartments as having been bought from Daiso in the first place. But Daiso Japan has things like pillows and towels and floor mats, because in Japan they don't usually have a bath mat outside the bath because there's a drain in case of overflow. And well, I'm wearing an Amabie mask. I don't know if it was from Junko Mizuno or not because Timmy bought it, so I'm not sure. But thanks for noticing. Sorry, back to, you can buy things for your apartment. So yeah, if you're used to coming out of the shower and stepping on a bath mat, they're not going to have that there. So I just went to Daiso and went and bought them. So again, I think we probably spent like $30 worth of things at Daiso to make my apartment more comfortable. But you know, don't be afraid of not having enough amenities in these. They're pretty basic apartments. They're meant for business travelers, and there may be some things that you find a little bit more comfortable. So, you know, you can personalize your house a little and then take it home and use it with you. So let's go to transport inside Japan. This is a lot of people will go to more than one city, right? I mean, sometimes on your first trip, you're just going to Tokyo, or maybe if you're going for business, you're just going to wherever it is for business. But a lot of people like to travel. And so we're going to talk about the options that are basically trains, flights, and buses. Those are the main ways to get around. You can also rent a car if you're comfortable driving on the left-hand side of the road, but that's gasoline's very expensive, although the cars are very fuel efficient. In fact, it's kind of weird because you stop, you feel like the car has just died, but that's what happens at a stoplight. It just cuts the engine, and then you hit the accelerator, and it goes again. So when you're in rural areas, a rental car is the right way to go, but I'm not really going to cover that because it's not really a budget option. So you always want to check your airport to city options because it takes a long time, but there is usually a regular city bus service or regular city train service from the airports into town. So, you know, they may charge you $25 to take an airport shuttle bus, or even more to take like the Narita Express, which still takes you into a train station in Tokyo. Remember that Narita Airport is about an hour and a half by bus, up to 2 hours, depending on where in Tokyo you're going. So it can take quite a long time. But, you know, there is like a regular slow train line that costs you $10, whereas if you're taking the express train or even taking what they call a limousine bus, I don't know why it's called a limousine bus, but that's what they are, that can be, you know, $25 for one of them, and then I think it's about $35 because a lot of times the Narita Express does also require you to book a seat reservation as well as the ticket price. So check that out in advance. I can tell you there's some wonderful travel YouTubers like Paolo from Tokyo who does cover this a lot, particularly for Tokyo. Let me see what else. I've traveled to some of the other airports, and usually I have had some people picking me up if I'm going to some of the other airports rather than Tokyo airports. I will say if you're taking the limousine bus, getting prepaid vouchers, again, will save you money, a little bit of money. So you can book them with the travel agent. Before you go, they'll send them to you in the mail. The JR pass is the same. It is much less expensive if you buy it before you leave, and they'll send it over to you. You can sometimes buy them in Japan. It's becoming more popular. but you have to go to like one specific train station. I think it's only Tokyo Station where you can buy the JR Pass in Japan. Otherwise, if you're not going to that station, it can really be out of your way. Now, is the JR Pass worth it? That really depends on where you're going, how many cities you're going to, and how frequently you're traveling. So if you are traveling from Tokyo to Osaka and back within 7 days, the JR Pass is about the same price as taking the Shinkansen. And you can take most of the Shinkansen, not the very, very fastest one, but all of the others on your JR Pass. So for that one, if you've got 7 days and you're traveling around, it's worth it. If, however, you're going from Tokyo to Kyoto and you're going to be in Kyoto for 2 weeks and then you're coming back again, well, then you'd have to buy a 14-day pass, which costs, no surprise, twice as much as a 7-day pass, and it may not be affordable. So you really have to do the math on these things. Also, hi, Bella ATX, go ahead and hit me with your question. There is a bit of a delay, so it makes it look like I'm sitting here being silly, but go ahead and hit me with that question. In the meantime, I will remind you, while we're waiting for Bella's question, that honestly, discounted flights can be an option. They usually, JAL or ANA have things where if you have a flight to the United States, I will answer that Daiso question in just a second. If you have a flight from the United States, I think from anywhere in the world, but you know, you have booked an international flight, and it does not have to be on JAL or ANA, but you know, you can say, here's the flight that I'm arriving to Japan on, and you're a tourist, then you can book a flight, domestic flight within Japan for $100 or less. So when we are going to change planes, we actually don't buy a through ticket. So if we're going to Oita, we buy a ticket into Tokyo or into Kansai Regional or Kansai International Airport, and then switch. We bought a separate ticket for the $100 there. So let's get this question about Daiso. Is there a free gift from the awesome Daiso grand opening? No, the manager Jay did say earlier there's not a free gift for the opening. However, there will be free gifts for their 1 month anniversary, which is apparently on Black Friday. And so the first certain number of people in the store will be getting goodie bags. And how many people are allowed in the store? They haven't given me a specific number, but they have said that they are, you know, keeping it to a set number. You do have to stay 6 feet apart while you're lining up, and then they're going to be counting the number going in. I would say they're probably going to let 40 people in at a time at least, because it's a pretty big store. So you can stay pretty socially distanced. I mean, people will be excited, so it may be a little bit difficult, but I don't, they haven't told us a specific number, but it's not going to be a small number, I'll tell you that. And masks are absolutely required, so please do wear your mask. Let's see what the other question is. I'm leaving at 8:30 and waiting outside the store. I've been in the KC store since I was 6, and so I am so excited too. They open at 10 in the morning. They're only open until 8 on the first day, and they are open, I think, until 8 or 9 most other days. So the grand opening, I don't think they're doing a whole bunch of because it's a little bit of a soft opening, to be honest, only because they opened early. Like, they were supposed to be opening on Friday, and now they're opening on Tuesday. So it's not, it's more just that, honestly, I call it the new store smell. Everything is fresh and new and exciting, and there's so many people who are already lining up that they're not having to do any promos that day. But their 1 month anniversary, which you may not know, in Asia, the 1 month anniversary for a baby is very special. It's like a really big deal. So Baby Daiso in Austin is having their special 1 month anniversary birthday as well, and it will have free goodie bags. So thank you very much, Bella ATX, for that question. In fact, that was such a great question that we will award you one of the Daiso goodie bags. It's just a little pencil case, but if you send an email to info@okashicon.com, we will make sure that you get one of the kawaii pencil cases that we have already acquired from Daiso in Texas. So as Akashicon says, they have so much stock. Absolutely, you'll be thrilled with the amazing products. If you wait until the end, I'm going to be showing you more still photos. Oh, watch my mouth go crazy. Still photos and video. So we will have much more of Daiso coming up at the end after we finish these tips. Now let's go back to discount transportation options. So remember, the JR Pass may or may not be worth it for you. It depends on your itinerary. And also remember that once you're getting, I mean, I know it's a bullet train, I know it's really cool, but if you're going somewhere like Hokkaido, it is still going to take you 15 hours in the bullet train. So you may just want to go ahead and look for those discounted flights. You just go directly to the JAL or ANA website to book those. Now, if you're staying in a certain region, there are regions like Kanto region, or I think there's one, well, the JR Tokyo wide is the Kanto region. I think there's another region. All these different regions do have like a regional train pass. So if you're only going like an hour outside of Tokyo and doing day trips around, you can buy, I think, 3, 7, and 14-day passes for unlimited travel within that area. Now, be careful with these passes if you want to use them on the metro, because that is really tricky, especially in Tokyo, where there are, I think, 6 or 7 different companies that operate metro lines, and the JR Pass is only valid on the ones that are JR operated. So if you just want to spend all day on the Yamanote line, which is the main circle line that goes around central Tokyo, then you can use your JR Pass for that. But otherwise, you know, a lot of people try to upsell it saying, hey, you can use it on the underground as well, the metro as well. But honestly, you can't use it everywhere. And you have to, if you have to plan your route only going on the certain lines that are free, it can take you a lot longer. I will also mention the Session 18, which I did not know about until recently. That is a very similar to the JR Pass. It is a JR unlimited travel train pass, but it does not count the Shinkansen, does not use the bullet train. So you're using the slower regional lines. But if you're going, if you really like rural areas, or you're stopping off in a bunch of different places, then that may be another option, and it's a lot less expensive. I also want to mention the Willer Express bus pass and Willer Express in general. So overnight buses are even less expensive. Now, some people say, well, I can't sleep on a bus. They are more comfortable than, say, Greyhound buses. They do have reclining seats. Sometimes they have little cubicles on the buses. It just depends on the company. But also, you know, if you're traveling overnight and you're sleeping on the bus in your reclining seat, then you don't have to pay for one night's hotel accommodation. So that may work out for you as well. I know that going from Osaka to Tokyo can run you about $80 each way, as opposed to, I think it's about $220 on the Shinkansen, or a little bit more. Have I ever ridden on the Christmas Express? No, I haven't been there Christmas time. I haven't been on the Hello Kitty Shinkansen yet, and I haven't been on the Hello Kitty planes yet either. But I have so much to look forward to, but not yet. I've got a lot more trips to come. So let's move on to food. Food is going to be your least expensive budget item. Guaranteed, because you can eat very, very, very comfortably for under $10 a day. I think my average is about $5 a day, because I eat at convenience stores. I know a lot of y'all who have never been to Japan are like, convenience store food? That sounds disgusting. Well, if you've ever been to Buc-ee's, at least maybe think Buc-ee's level of food. It's actually better than that. For those of you who don't like barbecue, Buc-ee's barbecue is pretty good. But for everything else, this is real, fresh, good quality food. In fact, if it's been sitting there more than 4 hours, they often won't sell it to you. They can heat it up. We've talked about all of this before in the Japan travel planning video that is up on the Okashicon YouTube already, and on the Okashicon website, so I'm not going to hit it too much, but certainly $3 a meal will get you a lot at a convenience store, and I 100% eat there 3 meals a day, even when I can cook at home. When I was there by myself as a student, I still just ate convenient food and took it home and microwaved it, because it was really good, and I still lost a ton of weight. So if you're worried about it being all fatty foods, it's not. It's healthy. They've got salads. They've got everything. And in fact, it was less expensive than going to the supermarket, because supermarket had bigger portions. Sebi Hackaby says, that's quite a bar, under $10. I average under $20 a day, but I eat good and I eat a lot. Still massive savings over there. $20 would cover one meal in the United States for me. It's true, but I'm going to talk about some of the other discount things and even how to find Michelin-starred food for under $15. So I'm just going up the price options here. So the konbini, if you are like me, and 2 onigiri is a meal, or like 1 onigiri and famichiki, so Family Mart, those little fried chicken things, 2 of those, that's like $3, and that I'm very full with just fried chicken. It's not a balanced meal. I didn't say it was a balanced meal because I'm not one of those responsible adults. Onigiri is actually perfectly healthy for you, but I can eat for $2 in a convenience store. Your next step would be cooking in your residence. Now you're thinking, why wouldn't cooking at home be cheaper? It's because unless you can find one of the discount supermarkets, which are few and far between and sometimes a long way away from where you may be staying, the portions that they're selling in a Japanese supermarket are usually for a family of 4. So you're buying like a whole vegetable or a whole loaf of bread or a big 2 kilos of rice is the smallest bag of rice that I could find. And then you've got to carry it back. That's another story. So if you were with a group, that may be less expensive per person. If you're 1 or 2 people traveling together, you may be buying more food than you can eat, and it may be getting wasted. So that's why I don't have cooking in your residence at the top there. Also, there are plenty of fast food restaurants. You've got a lot of the US chains like McDonald's and Burger King, Taco Bell, KFC. Wendy's there is called Wendy's First Kitchen, and Wendy's First Kitchen is actually totally different menu. In fact, a lot of these have special Japan options. So even if you feel weird going to an American chain because you're like, I don't want to eat American food, they have special dishes that are only available in their Japanese stores. So McDonald's like has a teriyaki burger. Burger King has seasonal specials all the time. They had an enoki mushroom and Swiss burger that I absolutely loved. Wendy's First Kitchen has so many different things that I've never seen before. They have pasta, which wasn't the greatest, but you know, their burgers were completely different. Everything was different except for the kind of the logo. KFC I've not been to, so I don't really know. Taco Bell has okonomiyaki tacos. So okonomiyaki is a special Japanese sort of pancake. They call it savory pancake, but it's not really. But there are, again, very limited edition things that you can only get at the Japan versions of these stores. And then, of course, there are Japanese chains like Moss Burger, Lotteria, which I'm not a big fan of. I put here specifically HH because my husband and I like that a lot. It is takeout only, but you get basically like bento meals for starting at $4 and a huge hot meal that you can bring home. We found it down the street from our apartment, but they were located in a lot of places in Tokyo, and they were also okay with you not having English. You could just point at the menu. So that was cool. And that was where I had my first spam tempura because we got a whole tempura box and I was like, I had no idea what it was. And I ate it, and then we had to figure out that it was spam. And actually, I was surprised. Tempuraing spam that way was really tasty. I don't normally like spam, but that was pretty good. I'll also mention street food. So your fast food restaurants are going to be about the same prices that you're paying in the United States. So very similar. If you know how much you would pay in America, it's going to be about the same there. Street food can be a little bit expensive because you're paying 300 or 400 yen per item. But if that item is okonomiyaki and you're paying $5 for that, for me, that's 2 meals. I mean, it's huge. And okonomiyaki is like this, and it's about 1.5 inches thick. Where you're going to get street food, though, is going to vary based on where you are visiting. So most of the time, it's only going to be available at festivals, but also sometimes they have them around temples. And certainly if you're going to Tokyo and you're going to Tsukiji Market, which used to be the fish market has now moved to Toyasu, just across a little bay. But Tsukiji Market still has a lot of these fast food stalls all around it. Some of them are like carts, like food carts. Also, the area around Asakusa Sensoji Temple has a lot of these. And then sometimes they're just like small ice cream chains or small little, I guess it's kind of hard to explain, like taiyaki and things like that. Lester Kenny Cosplay says, how is Ameyokacho? So I found that Ameyokacho was, again, it was a bit more like bulk buying supermarket stuff. It tended to be dried food, whereas I liked going to me think of my words here. What was I going to say? I liked going to like convenience stores because they had smaller portions of things. But especially if you wanted, again, more dried and preserved foods. Remember last month we did talk about the farmers market, pop-up farmers market that is at United Nations University. I actually liked that as well. So if you're cooking at home and you just want some quick ingredients, I found this to be a little bit better than Amayokacho. Yeah, bulk buying Costco Japan. That wouldn't be my option because Costco's not super convenient. But I'm just gonna let y'all keep chatting there because otherwise I'll be here absolutely all day talking about that. Let me just move on. There are chain family restaurants like Denny's. I know you're thinking again, Denny's. Why would I eat there in Japan? Especially if you find Denny's with the white label, so it's the regular Denny's logo, but the background is white. They have a chef that can make pretty much anything. And then there's also Jonathan's. Probably seen that a lot in anime. They usually slightly misspell them, like instead of McDonald's, it's Whackdonald's, and Jonathan's can be, Jonna Sands or something else. They'll, just to avoid trademark issues, they'll misspell it. But Jonathan's very similar to Denny's. And again, you can get a very full meal for $10 or less usually. Other affordable chains, Coco's Curry is my favorite, which you can order Coco's Curry pre-made, have it shipped to you on Amazon. It's about $8, but if you buy it in Japan, you can get I usually get the kids meal because I can't eat a full portion. So a kids meal is $5. They also have lunch specials. But a full Coco's Curry meal, again, is about $10 for the whole meal. There's also Ichiran Ramen. Ramen runs you between 600 and 1,200 yen per portion. Sometimes you have to pay from the vending machines out front. Again, please see my previous Japan travel planning video for more about that. Yoshinoya is a gyudon or donburi type restaurant that's basically stuffed meat on top of rice. We'll tell you a lot of people don't like it. And Torizoku is a skewer based restaurant. So yakitori is basically meat on a stick that's been broiled and you're buying it per stick. Sometimes the like sushi go around, the revolving sushis. I can't remember sushi zaka. Oh, I cannot remember the Japanese word for it. I apologize. But if you're just buying a couple pieces of sushi, it can also I don't think I've spent more than $12 in there and I've still gotten a pretty decent meal's worth. So Sushi Go Round is literally the name of my favorite chain of that, and it's pretty inexpensive. Department store restaurants are also pretty affordable. Again, between $10 and $15 for way more food than I can eat. I know it's sometimes considered rude in Japan to not finish your meal, but I just can't. Like, you hear that American portions are big, but Japanese portions can be pretty huge as well, and I can't finish most of these. But basically, you find any department store, and the top floor, there's sometimes top 2 floors, there's going to be a whole suite of restaurants, and it's going to be all different kinds of Japanese food, usually other Asian foods, Chinese, Indian, Western food, a whole bunch of different options. They're always really good and they're affordable. So if you're kind of worried about where to find something and you want a sit-down restaurant meal, especially if you're tired and you just need a place to sit down, highly recommend going to wherever the biggest department store is and then go sit down there. As Timmy says, markets are awesome for food on a stick. So if you guys watched my show from, what was it, July, I guess? Again, go back to the Akashikan website and look at the very first one of these Japan stories. We do talk about all the food on a stick that you can get from some of the kitchenware shopping areas like Nishiji Market in Kyoto and also at festivals. So I haven't decided what the topic for next month is going to be on this show, but if you guys would like to talk about Japanese festivals or Japanese holidays, I can tell you so much about food on a stick. You will be incredibly hungry. So that's just one option. Do let me know either in email or in the chat what topics you would like to see on this show in the future, because I know some topics interest you guys more than others. I can talk about just about anything for hours. And in fact, I'm looking at our time. I got to get a move on because we've still got more to cover. So remember, I said you can get Michelin-starred food for under $15. How do you do that? You go to tokyochipo.com, which I've mentioned before. we will, I'll have that link later. And there are Michelin-starred restaurants in Tokyo that have lunch specials. So it may be like $150 to eat there for dinner, and it can be $10 to eat there for lunch. So there's also a Michelin-starred dried ramen that you can get from the supermarket. So you can get fantastic food if you know where to look. And some of those links will be later in the broadcast. Let's have our last little sneak peek at Daiso. Talking to Ruby. No, not Ruby, Sam. Sam is going to show us the plushies in the Austin Daiso. Hey everybody, we are here with the lovely Sam, who's going to show us the favorite section, Sam's favorite section. So tell us about this.
They're clearly plushies. Not just plushies, but they're very soft and in cat form. So...
And the puppy dog,
yep.
and little parrots,
yeah.
and some bears.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it like a cookie store?
It's actually a very oddly shaped seal.
A seal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can see the other ones are definitely seals.
Yeah, this one's a polar bear, and that one I think is like a grizzly bear.
That's so cute. That kind of looks like a manta ray, actually.
Yeah.
With the eyes to the part.
They're definitely interesting. I like this one the most because I have a cat that looks just like that.
I used to have a cat like that, so that's adorable.
Yeah.
I have one that I got up in Daiso Plano about a year ago. That's a black cat, and it has a little curve on it, so I call it Super Cat, and I put a little cape on it because it looks like it's black.
Very, very Gigi-esque.
They are there, and they're so super comfy.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to show us, or?
I mean, there's always more plushies too over on that side too.
Well, we'll go film the plushies, but you can. Thank you so much for being with us today, and have a happy grand opening.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys.
Sorry about that. Director San didn't remove the big Daiso sign from the front of that, but I hope you could see there were really adorable little seals and just really cute stuff. I think we're having a little bit of a glitch on looking at our Twitch, and it seems a little bit odd. Oh no, maybe that's just me. Maybe that wasn't the director's fault at all. Maybe that was me. I completely apologize. Sorry, Director San. I just saw that Daiso was up on the screen where it shouldn't have been, but that was up on my screen because I can't do 6 things at once. Yep, thank you. Gomenasai. Let us move on again. We're going to wrap this up pretty quickly because we don't have a lot of time. But remember, I will stay here through the rest of your questions. Bella says, do y'all have squishies at Daiso Austin? They do. They had about 15 different kinds of squishies. Now, these are more than $1.50. I think they're about $8 to $12. They were so cute. They are so soft. I personally have one. They are so plush, and I have some more. I was gonna look to see if I see one here. I can't reach it. I have a whole bunch of them that I bought by Daiso Japan, and they're really great if you need like a lumbar cushion on the flight back. Just buy a nice plushie and then carry it on. You'd be like, no, this is my pillow for the plane, and then you don't have to put it in your luggage. You can just carry it on. Sorry, a little bit sneaky. Do I have previews? We do have some previews coming up. Those were some of the plushies. I don't have a lot of the plushies, but at the end we will definitely have some more previews. I can't remember if it has more of the squishies on there or not, but it had 2 sections of squishies. So those were the ones that we saw were the big ones, and then they had some smaller ones. But let's see what else we have. Basically, I just want to point out that even once you are over in Japan, you can go to places completely for free. So when I go over there for language school, I feel like I've already spent a lot of money on my tutors or my classes, and usually class is half a day, and I wanted to do things that were inexpensive the rest of the day. So obviously there are things like going to parks. Temples and shrines are free to visit. They do ask for an offering when you go to pray in the shrine, but that is the traditional offering is a 5 yen coin. So hopefully you can afford 5 cents because the word go for 5 is related to a lucky number. So usually it's a little coin that has a hole in it. It's a copper coin. And so 5 cents is what you usually donate unless you're asking for a really big wish. So, if you're asking to get your new job or pass your exams or something, then, sorry, my husband brought me one of the Daiso squishies. This is one that I've gotten from the Plano store. Hopefully that shows you it's so cute. I call this one Super Cat. I don't know if you can see, it's got this curve and it looks like it's flying. And often for Halloween, I put a cape on it so it can be a real Super Cat. Thank you, husband, for bringing me Super Cat to show you. They don't have this one in stock at the moment, but they did have several other. They had white cats this time, like as you probably saw in the last video. That is on my list of things to get. I don't have a white cat right now. Remember, there is a preview at the end. It does not include everything in the store because, you know, we just didn't have a lot of time. I mean, we had a lot of time, but, you know, it's a big store. So I tried to take photos as much as I could. But so again, activities, ways to save money on activities, other than things that are obviously free. Usually most major cities have free volunteer tours. So they're usually people who are studying English and they're learning to be tour guides, and they put on these tours for free. They are listed later on in the slides here. And also, if you go look at the 2 books that I recommend, they have a lot of listings for different cities for where you can get free walking tours, completely free. And remember, Japan doesn't usually accept tips either, so you don't have to worry about that. If you're into museums, like I am, and you are in the Tokyo area, I highly recommend the Gruto Pass. I'm pronouncing it the Italian way. I don't know if that's how they pronounce it in Japanese, but Gruto is certainly an Italian word. And you pay, I think it's 2,400 yen. And certain museums you get in for free. Other museums that are already free, you get a discount, or you get in for free to their special exhibition. And you have 60 days to use this pass. Now, I will say you have to pay cash for this. They do not accept credit cards, even if it's at a place that normally accepts credit cards. The Gruto Pass system just doesn't. But there are, I think, 96 different museums that you're either getting free or discounted in the greater Tokyo area. So it's about 2 hours around Tokyo. And I mean, we were there for over 60 days, but we still didn't get to nearly that many. But we saw like the Hokusai Museum, the Shinjuku Historical Museum, the Edo Tokyo Museum, all these museums I can show you in the future if you want. I have loads of footage. But yeah, it was a really great deal. Certainly better than paying sort of $10 each to go to some of these places. And then obviously discount things that you can do to save money would be shopping, like at 100 yen stores. Although Daiso is our favorite, there are other brands as well, like Syria, Can Do, Silk, Wilkerson. There's something with a weird English name, but it's owned by Daiso, so just go to Daiso. Remember that old Daisos have a green logo, and it's written in Japanese. So check out my Instagram, because I did post that earlier, so you can see what an old logo Daiso looks like. If you're in Nakano buying awesome secondhand otaku goods in Nakano Broadway, there's one just north of Nakano Broadway that has the green logo on it. So you can also watch sumo wrestlers training for free. You have to stand outside, look through the window, but there's all kinds of things that you can do that don't cost you any money once you're already over there. Let's talk about saving money shopping. There's not a whole lot to say here because obviously it's like shopping anywhere else. Bye, Ashley. So glad you could come with us. Do remember that tax-free shopping can save you the sales tax, which is 10%. Now, there are a lot of rules about that. They have an entire website called Tax Free Japan. But basically, you have to spend either $50 worth of 5,000 yen or 10,000 yen, which is $50 or $100, depends on the store. And then they just don't charge you the sales tax. Very occasionally, if you have a department store, you're buying in separate departments, then you go down to the single tax-free desk and they give you the refund right there on the spot. So it's not like other countries where you have to send in the receipts and then they send you a check or they give you the money back at the airport. It's not that complicated. You do have to turn in the receipts at the airport, and they do tell you have it handy so they can look at it in customs. That's not strictly speaking true because it's already in your check luggage and it's after you're through security that you hand these receipts in. So if you have any questions about tax-free shopping, ask me. I could talk about it for a long time, but we don't have a lot of time left anymore anyway. Do remember that there are 300 yen or 100 yen shops. There are 300 yen shops called 3 Coins. Obviously, their merchandise is a little higher quality and more homeware type things, household goods. If you like Harajuku shopping, there is the 390 Mart, which is downstairs. Again, as Timmy Source says, be careful if you're buying medical supplies and cosmetics, things that are consumable. They put it in a sealed bag, which you are not supposed to open. Apparently, even consumables count as embroidery floss too. So I had that happen to me when I went to one of the fabric stores. Only the one fabric store, and only when I brought thread and needles as opposed to fabric. But, you know, sometimes they seal it up in a bag, and you're not supposed to open that bag until you get home. Again, it's in your checked luggage, but they have the right to ask you for it. So, you know, I don't do anything illegal. So it's kind of weird. Also, like I said, 390 Mart, if you're in Harajuku, it is down a flight of stairs. Everything in the store is 390 yen. I've sometimes bought Ita bags there for 390 yen, but they didn't have them the last time, so it's not there all the time. If you like secondhand, as we were talking about, the other big discount store. Now, this is more like a Walmart or Target, so it's like regular name brands, but less expensive. Don Quixote with the giant golden penguin. That is the place for you. Although if you are disabled and require a mobility aid, it is a nightmare in there. But certainly if you were buying things like cosmetics, luxury cosmetics, skincare, you know, the Shiseido stuff, your SK2, any of that, your Lululemon face mask. I love Japanese skincare, and it's very pricey. You can get it at Don Quixote, so it's discounted, and you can also get tax-free there. So remember that. Also remember, secondhand shopping can be really fun. So you can get secondhand manga at places like Mandarake and K-Books, secondhand anime goods at the same places, more at K-Books. There are entire chain called Off. So like Book Off, Mode Off, Cook Off. These are all specialized stores of books, clothing, I can't remember what all the different options. I think they have 12 different versions. So if you see something with Off and then an exclamation mark, that is a secondhand store from this particular chain. If you like secondhand kawaii goods, I recommend a particular thrift store chain. There's loads of them in Tokyo. It is called Don Don Down on Wednesdays. Yes, that is the whole name. And that is because if something has been there a whole week, on Wednesday, it gets marked down. If it's been there a whole week again, it gets marked down on the following Wednesday. So go on a Wednesday because everything's just been marked down. So again, I could talk about shopping all the time. I don't want to, you know, you're trying to save money, so you probably ain't going to shop too much. Do remember to check in advance how much your airline is going to charge you for overweight baggage or an extra bag, because sometimes it's cheaper to pay for overweight and sometimes it's cheaper to pay for an extra bag. And obviously, if you need an extra bag, try to bring one with you. Like if you're like me and you know you're going to buy extra stuff, just bring an extra bag with you. It's going to be much less expensive, but Don Quixote is the only other place that I know that has pretty inexpensive packable bags. Let's see what Misty Ibiki says. Be careful with secondhand. You bought a set of something for $100, 5 is a set, and found the same set for more than half. Yeah, I mean, obviously, secondhand shopping is very much buyer beware, whether it's otaku goods or whether it's clothing. Also remember, clothing, if you're American sized, you may not find anything in your size. So if you are, I say American sized, I mean like if you're US size 10 and above, for women, or if you're sort of men's large and above, you may not find anything in your size. There are some places, they tend to be like vintage retro stores as opposed to like thrift stores. You can certainly find things. You can certainly find secondhand things in the Urahara area, which is like Harajuku, but across the street in that other like trendier area. Like locals in Tokyo don't really go to Harajuku area anymore. They go to Urahara, which is more like street clothes. But you can find secondhand clothing there. It's also, they have bigger sizes. But we will be talking about plus size fashion just a second because I have something to preview for you. I have a couple of recommended resources for you. 2 books, which I will show you the covers of in a minute. Super Cheap Japan and Super Cheap Tokyo. They were written in that order by Matthew Baxter. He has a website called supercheap.com. And then also I highly recommend tokyocheapo.com, japancheapo.com. These are great, especially for telling you events that are coming up, and then also store reviews, festival information. Just get on their mailing list. Honestly, you will not regret it. This Chika Tokyo site, Chikatoku from enjoytokyo.jp, has discount offers. So sometimes you can get discounted metro passes, or the Tokyo Metro does have a pass where if you buy it, you can get like 200 yen off certain museum entries. These are all listed in the books and on the website, so I don't have time to go into some of the specific ones. There's also Tokyo Free Guide, which is free stuff to do in Tokyo. Other cities have similar things. I don't want to waste a whole lot of time on here because this is just sending out to the internet for more stuff. These are the 2 books that I recommend. If you buy them in ebook format, I think they're $5 and $4 respectively. Super Cheap Japan came out first. It does have a lot of Tokyo information, but if you're only going to Tokyo, I think that one's $4. These have all the things like where the discount supermarkets are, what the cheapest pass would be, so an all-day pass for whatever regional metro system you're going on. It has where the internet and manga cafes that accept foreigners are and where they're there. It even lists specific love hotels that they can recommend. Remember, a love hotel, you do have to be an adult, which right now in Japan is the age of 20. I think it's next year that it's going back down to 18. And you know, love hotels will have different prices. One is rest, which is 2 to 4 hours. They're not expecting you to rest. Spoiler alert, that's why it's called a love hotel. But they do also have stay, which is a 12-hour option, but you are expected to check out every day. So you can't leave your luggage there during the day. That's not really what they're for. Some of them are now showing on some of these Trip Advisor and other booking websites. So if it says love in the name of it, know that's what you're in for. There's nothing wrong with them. They're perfectly clean. They're usually conveniently located. But obviously you can't go with small family members. And if you're traveling with older family members who might be offended by that type of thing, obviously be careful with that. Seppi's saying, going to be playing my Nintendo Switch while waiting for the trains to start back up. I'm waiting for all of Japan to let us back in. But that is, this is just a sample of this is the Akihabara section from Super Cheap Japan, just to show you that there are maps that show you discount eating, where you can find things from the train station, again, discount supermarkets, and they just have the whole list, shopping, etc. So there's way more in these books than I can possibly cover, and they're the only ones that I know that specialize in finding the cheapest possible price. I will also recommend the Let's Go series. For anywhere in the world that you're going, Let's Go guidebooks are written for student backpackers. So it's always going to have the cheapest accommodation. Capsule hotels and love hotels may not be what you are interested in most of the time, but as Steffi says, they're great if you have missed the last train, and because trains stop running around midnight in Tokyo, and if you can't get back to your hotel, a capsule hotel, which remember is just a tiny little area. If you're staying with other people, you can't stay with them, especially men and women's floors are separated. But you know, staying in an internet cafe until the trains start running again, staying at a capsule hotel or a love hotel, if you just need something short term, those are pretty inexpensive options to get back to your regular accommodation or your home. I mean, you'll see that's why capsule hotels exist, is usually they used to be men only, and which were men who missed the last train home. Maybe they lived out far away and they needed to be back in time for work early in the morning. Now let's just show you some more of Daiso. The rest of the time we will be talking about Daiso. So if you are done, if you don't want any more Daiso stuff, then thank you very much for attending. We really appreciate you. But if you are here because you are like us and you're excited about the Daiso grand opening, oh, I should show you. I mentioned some of the other discount options, but there is GU. I always swore that I would do this show in my pajamas one day, and today I am, because these are from GU, which is the even less expensive version of Uniqlo. And this entire fuzzy pajama set was $25. So really good quality stuff and really affordable prices. But on that subject, back to Daiso. We're going to have some still footage, we're going to have some announcements, and then we're going to end with more video from inside the store. So these are some of the housewares that I really want. So you will be seeing my must-buy options. We have some gorgeous little chopstick rests and chopsticks. And then even if you're not used to using chopsticks, how much do they tax? They tax the regular sales tax wherever they are. So in Austin, I think that's 8.25. I don't remember 100% off the top of my head, but it'll just be whatever they, you know, wherever Daiso is, they charge whatever the local sales tax is. So if you're in a different state or a different city, it may be different. So yeah, they have a huge houseware selection, stuff that you can use every day. If you're not familiar with using chopsticks, you can get these little squeezy guys that go on the top of your chopsticks. They're meant for kids to learn how to squeeze chopsticks, to learn how to eat with it. Sorry that there's an ad going on. Hopefully this won't bother you too much, but do remember that's why we have subscriptions. Sometimes using the Twitch app will help you avoid the ads, but obviously this is how Twitch makes their money, and that's how we can put this on for without having any expenses. YouTube does the same. They put in ads. So no matter what platform we go to, they're going to stick ads in there somewhere because that's how they pay for all this bandwidth. Let's look more at Daiso. Remember, they have a lot of cute supplies for making adorable bento, for making cute fried eggs. They have beautiful tableware. Often, like in the springtime in particular, when it's cherry blossom season, they'll have a whole selection of cherry blossom crockery. Although I can see some of it right there, they do have it year round. I have so much of it. I don't have it handy. I do have, so I have another little sign that I got. It just says full bloom. So I bought this up in the Plano Daiso last year. They have all kinds of seasonal things. So they have about 4 aisles of seasonal stuff, which we're not showing you when we do the preview later, just because we want this to be more of a year-round thing that people can watch at any time. But they have 4 aisles of Christmas stuff right now. And every season they change it out for whatever happens to be popular. So what else we have? We have actual bento boxes. And we then have like the little boxes where you can put some of your side dishes in that then go inside your bento boxes. They have really cute cookie cutters. They have, I mean, again, as I mentioned, if you guys watch Tabby Eats, they don't have all the cool stuff there. I will say I was a little bit disappointed, only that they can be getting them, especially if you ask for it. They so far didn't have a lot of the like easy microwave stuff, which is some of the stuff that they review with Tabby Eats. But they do have it up in Plano, and they've said if it's something that's already in a Dallas area Daiso, they can probably get it for us if we ask. So hopefully they'll be coming soon. They're just not in the store yet, but I'm pretty sure we can get them to bring it down because they're going to ask for it. Because as the store matures, they'll know more what their market is interested in. So be sure to ask them if you're really interested in things like the omelet maker and the onigiri maker. And they do have some onigiri makers actually, but I meant like the sushi roll maker, things like that. Again, talking about toiletries, if you're looking for rubbing alcohol, I know places were sold out of rubbing alcohol for the longest time this year because of COVID. They had it right there on their shelf for $1.50, big bottles. I also am showing you that because both of the photos on the left and at the top have things like nail clippers. Daiso nail clippers are the best nail clippers I have ever used in my life, and they're very inexpensive. I mean, I have had top quality German ones, which are known to be the most famous, and I still didn't think they were as good as the ones that I've gotten at Daiso. Again, I like the little tiny boxes. I think they're fantastic for travel, especially like I have some. Here it is. Anytime I need my earrings, I bought this little 3-section thing, and I just keep my earrings in it for travel and having handy for when I'm about to do broadcasts. Although, you know, sometimes I have the headset on, you can't see my earrings. But today's earrings are Happy Halloween with my little creepy hands. And also, a lot of my stuff did come from Daiso, Japan last year. Sorry, I'm just showing off now because I love Daiso. Let's see what else I can show you. If you are a cosplayer, remember, you can get things. You can get makeup. You can get makeup brushes. These, I think, are the best quality, budget-friendly makeup brushes anywhere. They're $1.50 and they are really, really good quality. They're super soft. It's what I use all the time. They actually had styrofoam. If you saw some of our lives yesterday, they have styrofoam heads that are great for wig stands and wig styling. Those were $7, something like that. They were somewhere between $6 and $7. But it's a great place to find styrofoam heads, and it's less expensive than some of the other alternatives. They have hair clips, they have makeup. Again, remember, they do have LA Colors brand in the United States. They do not have some of the Daiso brands. That is due to FDA licensing. That's nothing that Daiso can control, but I really like the LA Colors brand a lot. Often that will be both the eyeshadow and the lipstick that you're seeing me wear on a lot of these broadcasts, and it's very affordable. Let's see what else we have to show. The stationery, they do have like traditional Japanese stationery with the mizuhiki, the tied knots. I know how much time goes into making these, and the fact that you could just buy these envelopes for $1.50 is almost criminal, because it's so much work went into these. It's such high quality, and these are traditional congratulatory envelopes, because often you give money for special occasions like weddings, birthdays, New Year's, for a red envelope, etc. So any gift card or gift money giving occasion, they use these special envelopes. But they also have other envelopes. They have adorable stickers and stationery sets. They have just a little bit of costuming. More in the kids section, they had toys next to it. But, you know, usually when it's Halloween time, they have all kinds of cat ears. I have bat wings. I have little inflatable bat wings. I have all kinds of stuff. Remember, Halloween goods. They have even more Christmas stuff right now. It's just Christmas isn't my favorite holiday. So I see these comments. I love it. Yes, we're good. You may go broke. I will tell you, will warn you, there is a limit to how much you can buy in one transaction. Not one like shop, but once the register hits $150, it will stop the transaction. Now that's okay. You can then start another transaction. You don't have to go back in line again or anything like that. But like, it'll go for $150 and then you have to pay and then you start up again. That is just a weird quirk of their system, I guess, kind of to prevent fraud for people using stolen credit cards or having to like rack up a bunch of items and put it all back because your credit card was declined. Just important to know, I have had that $150 limit hit more than one time in a shop. Yeah. So when you'll talk about going broke there, guilty, absolutely guilty. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me show you some more. Look at that washi tape section. That whole end cap there is washi tape, and it's $1.50. And I have so much washi tape, it's not funny. There's some of the plushies again. So those, we saw the big plushies on one side, but there's also plushies on the other side. I'm sorry that that's a small photo, but that is, so you've got a double-sided aisle plushie section. The quality is really good. They are super soft, super snuggly, and loads of plushies. We already saw some of the craft supply section. I'll be mentioning some of those later. I'm glad that you guys are going to come to Daiso. It's absolutely my favorite store in the world. Showing you more of the craft supply section. And then at the bottom there, look at that. That is a little kitty cat backpack. We have seen this at anime conventions. We have seen it on Amazon. We have seen it places. It's usually $20 to $30. It is $12 at Daiso, and that one is actually better quality than the ones that I've seen at anime conventions. 100% that kitty cat backpack is on my list of things to buy this week. So it's so adorable. Things are so cute. They're so affordable. I cannot say more wonderful things about Daiso because I will just start repeating myself. Love, love, love Daiso. We will be showing you more footage of the store shortly. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that we have given you a lot of travel tips that you can use on your planning your next trip to Japan. Remember to contact me. Oops, that's my other email address, which you can also use. Remember to contact me if you would like these slides. You can contact me on Twitter, on Instagram, on email. My hashtag is always Juliana Japan for travel photos, and sometimes if other people are posting photos of me. So really appreciate that. A couple quick announcements about things coming up at AkashiCon. Our J Fashion Halloween cord contest is ending on Tuesday, so please get those entries in. Go to the AkashiCon Facebook page, which will send you to the form where you can put your submission in. There's lots of cool prizes, so please do enter. And it can be anything that is J Fashion related. It does not have to be Lolita particular. So if you're like me and you wear more of the goth stuff from Listen Flavor, that counts too. Absolutely. Any kind of coordinate that you put together, whether it's handmade, whether it's bought from Japan, but if it's in a Japanese style, absolutely you are eligible to apply. We have a pause play contest, which is for our adorable pets that dress up, and that will be drawn on the 31st of October. So please remember to share the post or tag AkashiCon on Facebook or Instagram of a picture of your cute little pet in their adorable costumes. Y'all will be seeing my annoying cat very soon because I have loads of costumes for her, which she hates. And yes, I did get a lot of them from the vending machine gachapons. She has a Dracula cape from the gachapon, actually. So we'll be seeing some of those coming up. Check out the OkashiCon social media this next week as these will be posted entirely. Remember that we have anime afternoons coming up on November 7th, which will be our artist showcase. But on November 8th, we have a special, which is cute J fashion for plus sizes. That is our special activity. Please, it will be on our Twitch channel. So please remember to come back both on November 7th and on November 8th. We've got a lot of awesome events coming up for you. And that is all for today. We are going to play you out with some footage of just walking around the store. We did have to cut out the background music and add different music because we didn't want to get as Ashley from Lester Kenny Cosplay noted, they did have music going on in the background and we didn't want to get a copyright ding. So thank you guys so much for being with us. We really appreciate you. Send me an email if you want the slides. Let me know what you would like to see on this show in the future. And remember that the next Make Your Monday is coming up on the second Monday of the month, where we will be doing hand-dyed, like tie-dyed paper. You're actually folding it and dipping it with basic household supplies you already have in your house. So thanks again. We really appreciate you. Now let's look at some footage from Daiso. You will never see Daiso this empty ever again. Roll the footage, please.